Chapter 821, Second Killing with One Hand. At the moment of Chen Qinking's life and death crisis, giggling, all of a sudden, a demonic laugh came from the sky. Swish. The faces of all the people present changed slightly. Mugs, Yi Longyuan also raised his head. What came into view were two figures, a man and a woman, slowly appearing in the sky. They all knew Mugs, but it was the first time that Long Yi had seen the man beside her. Zhang Han Yang. Shi Fengwu stopped his knife. He kept the elder's words in mind and quickly retreated. He was quite vigilant. The elder said, "Don't provoke Zhang Han Yang, what on earth is the reason?" The scene suddenly fell into a strange atmosphere. Han, brother Han. After Chen Qiking stopped, his body went a little numb as if he couldn't stand it anymore. "It's a little bit of a breakthrough." Zhang Han nodded, waved his right hand, and two medicinal pellets flew to Chen Qiking. At the same time, a gentle force lifted Chen Qiking up. Ha, ahem. Hearing this, Chen Qiking knew that Zhang Han had come early in the morning. He had been waiting for him to make a breakthrough. The vanishing art could also be considered to have made some breakthroughs in the battle. Although it was not big, it was also a kind of improvement. At the God Realm peak stage like Chen Qiking, it was difficult for him to make any progress. Only by seeking breakthroughs in various secret skills and moves could he become an immortal king. Without saying any courteous words, Chen Qiking directly took 2 pills, slowly recovering from his injury. Glang! The sound of the sword suddenly began to ring, accompanied by the cold wind in the sky. A chilling atmosphere pervaded the air. Mugs held the sword in her right hand and said coldly, "Master, do you want me to kill them?" "What did you say?" Long Yi's face darkened. Because of the elder's reminder, he didn't make a move. Instead, he looked at Zhang Han with vigilance. "I'm afraid of him, but who do you think you are? You don't deserve to provoke me. Mugs, if others don't dare to kill you, I dare." Long Yi's eyes were full of killing intent. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say it. He looked away from Mugs, looked at Zhang Han, and said slowly, "Zhang Han Yang, our elder warned us not to provoke you. Obviously, you are the one who can break the heaven-earth formation, right? Or is your strength far beyond that of the divine realm? No matter what, Chen Qiking is not dead today. I will not only kill him but also fight with you in the future. All right." With indifference in his eyes, Zhang Han slowly landed in front of Chen Qiking. As if to interpret, "You beat Chen Qiking, and his elder brother came to make trouble for you. Do you know why your elder didn't say anything specific?" Zhang Han shook his head slightly. "Because he's afraid of hurting you guys." "What are you talking about?" Long Yi frowned. Some of them didn't understand Zhang Han's words, but the next moment, they understood. Under the gaze of Yi Longyuan, Shi Fengwu, and the other 4 disciples, Zhang Han suddenly stretched out his right hand. Star map and thunder sea. Here and now, he finally unleashed the divine ability he had evolved for a long time. It's piercing. It sounded like the sound of tearing cloth. In an instant, there was a change in the eyes of Long Yi and the other disciples. It was as if they were in the vast starry sky, incomparably mysterious, making them feel tiny. Yes, even a heaven realm martial artist was like an ant in the starry sky. They were tiny like dust. Soul sense secret skill. The hairs on Long Yi's body stood on end. He knew that things might be a little troublesome. Yan Chen was proficient in soul techniques, which was also a kind of soul sense secret technique. That was why he did not go to fight for a long time. He knew that he might not be a match for Yan Chen, so he had to try to study the secret technique of the Lihan sect first. It was the same recently. He was going to take Yan Chen down on the night of the final battle on the divine list. He never had thought that he would run into Zhang Han Yang here. "Let's go." Long Yi shouted and stepped back. He was about to use 3 attacks to break the spell, but the star map thunder sea had just begun. Boom! A huge thunder sound was heard. The next moment, the group of Long Yi noticed that there was a vast sea beneath their feet. Oh no! When they took a closer look, they found that it was an ocean formed by tiny thunderbolts. Not only was it powerful, but it even made them feel supreme pressure. Oh my God, what on earth is this? Long Yi's expression changed drastically, and his eyes were filled with horror. Just as they were about to make a move, the thunder sea under their feet suddenly fluctuated. Plop. Like the sound of a drop of water, a small vortex was formed under their feet. The speed was getting faster and faster, and the size of the vortex was getting bigger and bigger. The souls of several people led by Long Yi were trembling as if they were confused. Whoosh! The vortex grew bigger and bigger as if a giant beast had opened its bloody mouth. It suddenly swallowed up. At this time, the secret skill, Star Map, could not withstand the pressure of the thunder sea at all. Bam! The star map was broken. In an instant, the thunder sea appeared in the human world. Yi Longyuan, Shi Fenwu, Chen Chenking, and Muge's wall widened their eyes. Under their gazes, the thunder sea swallowed Long Yi and the other four. The thunder sea slowly dissipated, as if it hadn't appeared, but Long Yi and the others in that direction had also disappeared. He's dead? Long Yi, who ranked second on the divine list, was dead. Gurgle. Yi Longyuan, who was stunned, swallowed his saliva and looked at Zhang Han, only to find that he was frowning as if he had not figured out what was going on. Yi Longyuan's speed was not fast. He knew that he couldn't escape even when facing Zhang Han Yang. His speed had already broken through the sound barrier. What should I do now? Damn, I'm so afraid of death. When did Zhang Han Yang become so powerful? Was he invincible in the invincible Grand Master Realm and the invincible Divine Realm? No, he was definitely not in the Divine Realm. What the foo-kay? It was hard to kill Long Yi in an instant, even at the peak of the Earth Realm. Could it be that he had reached the Heaven Realm? Are you kidding me? Merciless Zhang, don't you want to give us a chance to live? Yi Longyuan was completely stunned. The arrogant devil incarnate was scared at this moment. No wonder Mugs recognized him as a master. He was really awesome. Whoosh! Without saying a word, Shi Fenwu, whose face was pale, instantly used his full speed to break through the five-fold sound barrier. Run! I'm going to escape. Tell the sect this news. The elders had told them not to provoke Zhang Han Yang. They must know something. It turns out that we really can't afford to provoke him. Why is Zhang Han Yang so powerful? I, Shi Fenwu, must escape. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. He even felt that the airflow formed by the speed hit his face and messed up his hairs, but he didn't care about it at all. At this time, he just wanted to escape. Do you want to leave? When Zhang Han saw his figure, he receded his frown slightly and stopped thinking about the reason why the star map Thunder Sea collapsed. He pointed with his left hand, a shattering hand. Buzz! The space around Shi Fenwu was shaking. An invisible big hand firmly grabbed him to death. He seemed to be out of control and kept retreating. He didn't stop until he was 10 meters away from Zhang Han. You're pretty fast. Zhang Han controlled Shi Fenwu to turn around and face himself. His tone was as calm as water. I won't kill you because you still owe me 40,000 crystal stones. Hiss. Shi Fenwu took a deep breath. At first, he was very scared, but after a few glances, his fear dissipated, but it was even more unbearable in his heart. At that time, he could still fight with Zhang Han Yang, but now, he was like a chick in his hand. I'm so regretful. I should have fought with all my strength in the relic. Maybe I would have the only chance in my life to defeat Zhang Han Yang. He was a little confused, and his tone was extremely dry. I know when breakthrough, I'll find a way to give you 40,000 crystal stones. Oh, don't worry, there is no capital for people in the Divine Realm to earn crystal stones. You should make a breakthrough as soon as possible. Zhang Han narrowed his eyes slightly, dissipated his air-shattering hand, and said casually, go ahead. Shi Fenwu didn't dare to move. He summoned up the courage to look at Zhang Han for a while and finally nodded. The premise is that you live to pay you back. After that, He was silent for 2 seconds and said, "You spare my life, I'll tell you a piece of news. The first elder took the disciples of the Capricemo sect leader to the ancient mine. I don't know where they went, but there must be a lot of good things there. I'll take my leave." Whoosh. After that, Shi Fengyu left without looking back. The news was important, but not. The ancient mine was so big that no one knew where they were going. The most important thing was that the Heavenly Knights sect would know the news. Zhang Han just smiled and didn't say anything. It seemed that he was whispering, "Next time it'll be 80,000. When he broke through to the Earth realm, it would be a very profitable time. Crystal stones could be used for cultivation, especially those that had never used crystals. In the beginning, the effect would be very good, but gradually, the use of crystal stones would be less, and the consumption would be more and more. Since the small world was not open, the worldly crystal stones were extremely rare, because the scattered spiritual chi in the crystal stones would slowly dissipate between heaven and earth. Now, the security group was also cultivating with crystals. At first, they advanced rapidly, but now the effect was greatly reduced. However, a change in quantity could also trigger a qualitative change. Tens of thousands of crystal stones were still a huge fortune, not to mention that crystal stones could also be used to set up formations. Seeing Shi Fengyu leave safely, Yi Longyuan became anxious. He quickly cupped his hands and said, Zhang Han Yang, I owe you 20,000 crystal stones. I'll repay you as soon as possible. I'll go back to raise money now. Ho, ho, ho. Seeing this, Mugs sneered and said, You can also raise 20,000 crystal stones? Yi Longyuan was angry and retorted, I'll give it a try. Take your time. Zhang Han chuckled and said, The divine realm can't make any crystal stone at all. You can break through to the earth realm first and find a way to raise money. Yes. Since the other party didn't want to kill him, Yi Longyuan was relieved. He cupped his hands, turned around, and left quickly. They didn't want to stay here for too long. It was too stressful. Humphrey. Mugs snorted and blew her nose in the direction where the two of them escaped. Two fence bastards. They've seen how powerful you are, master. They're already cowards. It seemed that she was not like this at that time. Well, in Mugs' words, she was ignorant at that time. Now that she knew Zhang Han Yang, the big devil, she would not dare to go against him. After a few months of contact, she found that her master was very kind. Of course, in front of her master's wife and Meng. It was also the first time that she had seen such a parent who spoiled his child so much. Fortunately, her master's wife was here, otherwise, Meng might have become a little devil. Mugs often thought so. Chapter 822, Getting a Heavy Blow. Mom was a beautiful and wonderful person. Even Mugs felt that she was the kind of fairy who was otherworldly and extraordinary. Every twinkle and smile of hers was very charming. Only such a beautiful woman was worthy of her master. But I've also got something. Mugs glanced at her bulging weapon. She remembered that last month, while she was still bathing, Zif talked to her about something. The next day, Zif and Mom looked at her with a strange look. Obviously, they were a little envious. My man will have to be as powerful as my master in the future. In the past, Mugs had never thought about these things. For some reason, after she came into contact with Zhang Han's family, she sometimes thought of these things. Alas, I just began to witness PDA, and I was still in the adaptation stage. Brother Han. After Chen Chenking absorbed some energy from the elixir and recovered a little strength, he opened his eyes and sighed with emotion. I thought I would have to run to Xiangjiang to be saved by you. How could it be? Zhang Han said with a smile. I don't have many friends in my life, therefore, I have to take good care of you, my follower. At first, I went there just to see if you could make a breakthrough when you were in a life and death crisis. I expected that you would develop 60% of your bloodline power. Unfortunately, this is not a big battle. Long Yi's foundation is much stronger than yours. It's not bad for you to comprehend more about vanishing art. Haha, in terms of talent, I used to think that I was powerful. The King Dragon blood is so awesome, but now, I don't feel anything. It's very ordinary. Shan Qingqing sighed. Don't belittle yourself, you have just begun. Zhang Han patted Shan Qingqing on the shoulder and said, the King Dragon blood is very good. At least in the future, you will have a chance to break through to a higher level. As for the 8 drought demonic dragon, you have only cultivated for a few months, and the divine realm is just the beginning. You still have great potential. When you reach the peak of the heaven realm, such a gap will be shown. When you reach heaven peak stage, you will be able to kill other peak masters. Your blood will be improved by at least 70%. It's still early now. Really? Then I'm quite happy. Shan Qingqing laughed. It's too early to be happy. Zhang Han shook his head slightly and said, it teaches you a lesson this time. I warned you to practice several skills to escape first, and you saw the result today. If it weren't for Yi Longyuan's intervention, you wouldn't have been able to escape here. I wouldn't have been here every time. I know. Shan Qingqing sighed. It turns out that the skill to escape is so important. This time, I will cultivate these skills after I go back. Master, I also want to learn the escaping secret skill. At this time, Mugs started to talk and looked at Zhang Han with expectation. Yes. Seeing Zhang Han nodding, Mugs cheered happily. It seemed that she was very anxious to hold Zhang Han and kiss him, but she didn't dare to do that. She knew that if she did that, she might be beaten up, not to mention that she couldn't get the secret skill. This was also because of her mom and Meng Meng. If Zhang Han was single, this little witch would probably fall in love with him. Now, at least she knew the reality. Brother Han, there was a fight on my grandpa's side, too. Shan Qingqing's face changed, and then he remembered what had happened on the other side. It's okay, Xiao and the others have gone to help, Zhang Han replied. Oh, that's good. Shan Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief and then said with a smile, Mugs, you've learned a lot from Brother Han. Aren't you going to fight on the divine list? Humphrey, it's boring to play with children's things. Mugs curled her lips. Shan Qingqing was also in that line, but she didn't care. Everyone in Mount New Moon knew that the witch was still the same, except for Zhang Han's family. She would not indulge anyone else. It seems that the new immortal king is Yan Chen. Brother Han, if you are in the divine realm, you will be the new immortal king? Shan Qingqing said with some emotion. Oh, are you not going to compete for the immortal king? You can get both fame and wealth. Zhang Han gave him a strange look. I can't. Shan Qingqing shook his head. I can't fight anymore. Long you once lost to Yan Chen. That guy is even more terrible. I don't have enough foundation, so I'm probably no match for him. Ha ha. Zhang Han suddenly laughed and said, it seems that this matter has hit you hard. Everyone's focus is different. Long Yi's comprehensive strength is very strong, but her soul sense is relatively weak. Yan Chen is a pride of the Li Han sect, and the Li Han sect is famous for its secret soul method. I have seen that Yi Longyuan has performed a few moves, which are okay, but he also has some weaknesses. Coincidentally, there are a few ways to restrain the 8 drought demonic dragon's cultivation method. At this point, Shan Qingqing immediately realized what had happened, and his pupils shrank. Brother Han, you mean? Yes, it's the 3rd move. Zhang Han nodded. You haven't learned it yet. I've helped you to cultivate in seclusion these days. It's said that Yan Chen rarely uses the 3rd move against an enemy, but 3 moves are enough for you to deal with him. This. Shan Qingqing's eyes became brighter and brighter, and finally turned into a loud laugh. Ha ha ha. He had never thought of these things before. All things in nature mutually reinforce and neutralize each other. Although martial artists cultivated different martial arts, they could also mutually reinforce and neutralize each other. Then let's call him Immortal King Chen first, Mugs said with a sweet smile. Don't. You're flattering me. Shen Qingqing waved his hand repeatedly and said, among my peers, I only admire Brother Han. Even if I get the immortal king, I'm still Brother Han's little brother. Giggling, you are so lucky, you got a heaven-sent fortune. I have seen someone flattering, but I have never seen someone like you. Mugs curled her lips and said. She was quite envious of Shen Qingqing. She didn't know why the eldest brother rose to prominence in those years. Of course, she knew some inside stories. The old devil was the old devil. Will my grandfather and the others come over? Shen Qingqing looked at Zhang Han again and asked, come on. So the three of them waited here for half an hour, and more than 20 people arrived quickly. The leader was Yan Feiyan and the warlord of Chan clan, who looked worried. When he saw that Shen Qingqing was safe and sound, he was really relieved. Thank you very much, young lord. The warlord of Chan clan quickly cupped his hands to express his thanks. You're welcome, Elder Chen. Zhang Han waved his hand slightly. Young lord. Wang Xiao said with some excitement. Did you kill Long Yi? Well, what are you talking about? Mugs was unhappy and her eyes widened slightly. Long Yi is scum in front of master. Don't ask me any questions. Good. Wang Xiao was stunned for a moment before he realized. When I saw the expression of Shi Fengwu eating shit, I knew it was the young lord. That's good. Yan Feiyan said with a smile, the death of Long Yi will be a great blow to the disciples of the younger generation of the Wind Snow School. Of course. Jiang Bing clapped his hands and said, Long Yi has always been top among the young disciples of their sect. He overcomes others in the younger generation. Now that he has died in battle, I want to laugh when I think of those people's expressions after hearing the news. The disciples of Heavenly Knight's sect were very excited, especially the young disciples brought by Yan Feiyan. They looked at Zhang Han with admiration. You, the other sects, take a look, how powerful is the young lord of our Heavenly Knight's sect. What Long Yi, he was killed in an instant. I'll go back if there's nothing else. Zhang Han looked at his watch and said. Every time he went out, he would put on his watch. He didn't like to waste time outside. In fact, the lifespan of cultivators was very long, but Zhang Han felt that time was precious. Meng Meng has grown a little taller. In a few years, she will be a beautiful girl. Xian is still a little clingy, so I have to accompany her. Let's go together. Let's go and see the young master. Let's leave at night. Wang Xiao said with a smile. So they flew directly to Mount New Moon. 3 hours later, when Shi Fengwu and his disciples returned to the Wind Snow School, the atmosphere in the team was extremely heavy. Everyone was a little absent-minded, and even many disciples' faces were pale. Senior apprentice Brother Long Yi was dead. The news quickly spread in the Wind Snow School. At first, the disciples who got the news couldn't believe it. After confirming that the news was true, they were a little desperate and finally a little confused. The most incredible talent of our Wind Snow School died in Zhang Han Yang's hands. Why? An elder of the Wind Snow School appeared. He was silent for a long time and finally said something in a muffled voice, some words that made Shi Fengwu's hair stand on end. For a long time, the elders of our sect knew more news, but we didn't tell you. Now, it doesn't matter. When Zhang Han Yang was at the Grand Master Peak, he secretly absorbed the energy of 69 divine objects from our sect. We suffered great losses because he was able to break the heaven-earth formation silently and disappeared without a trace. He was a very tough person. Later, in the alliance of the 8 sects, the other 7 subsects in the other 3 worldlets of our Wind Snow School were all destroyed by him alone. He turned the tide with his own strength and resolved the crisis. For decades, only he was at the peak of the heaven realm. Not long ago, the 7 sects joined forces to take revenge. As a result, Zhang Han Yang was able to kill martial artists at the heaven middle stage and below with one hand. In the heaven-earth formation of Mount New Moon and Xiangjiang, 8 people at heaven realm were killed by the illusory formation. And 2 of them at last stage of the heaven realm even died in Zhang Han Yang's hands. There is no doubt that he has the strength at the heaven peak stage. As young people, why is he so powerful? If Long Yi takes first place on the divine list, the reputation of our Wind Snow School will be improved. He has always had the belief that he is invincible in the divine realm. If I tell you that Zhang Han, who is younger than you, is already at the heaven peak stage, what will you think? Unfortunately, he has finally taken action. If he takes action at the heaven peak stage against the divine realm, he has broken the rules. Then, Heavenly Knight sect will face the revenge of our Wind Snow School. As the new generation of the Wind Snow School, you must aim at killing Zhang Han and work hard to cultivate. The first elder and the others have already fought for resources. In the future, if anyone slacks off in cultivation, don't blame our Wind Snow School for leaving no one idle. With that, the elder flicked his sleeves and left, leaving behind many disciples of the sect who looked at each other in consternation. Zhang Han is already at the heaven peak stage. Shi Fengwu was stunned. He couldn't even imagine what was going on. Why was he, Zhang Han, so strong? Could it be that his Grandmaster was a fake? Chapter 823, Battle for the Immortal King? The Lihan sect in which hidden world? The sect master, the 3 elders, and the 2 protectors were drinking tea as they discussed a few matters. Recently, the vicious beasts are more active in Ancient Mine, and the comparatively safer region has shrunk by quite a bit. During the next Ancient Mine trial test, the activity range of disciples at the Divine Realm will decrease by 50 li. I also think that we should limit the number of times going down in the Ancient Mine, walking the beach often wetting the feet. The Ancient Mine is too dangerous. Going down more than a few times won't be a good thing for many disciples, especially Yan Chen. The reason why his cultivation speed is so fast is that he has been going into the ancient mines many times, and the resources have been fought for by himself. This time, after he has taken the title of Immortal King, he will probably go down again. The title of Immortal King is very difficult to obtain, and it has greatly improved the reputation of my sect. Yan Chen will also become a benchmark for the young disciples. If he accidentally dies in the ancient mines, then it would be a bit inappropriate. Hearing the discussion of the crowd, the sect master sighed softly. If there is only a ferocious beast in the ancient mine, then there is nothing to worry about. Unfortunately, the dark warriors within the ancient mine are the greatest enemies. Every single city lord within the mine possesses a strength surpassing that of Heaven Peak stage. Everyone knows that there is an opportunity for one to break through within the ancient mine. However, in the past 100 years, only Immortal King Zhang has been able to break through. One can well imagine how difficult this path is. Perhaps the secret is hidden within the depths of the ancient mine. However, to us there, it is also extremely dangerous. As for Yan Chen, he has obtained the title of Immortal King and has achieved great merit. Not only is the official reward, we are also able to take out several divine objects for him to break through to the Earth realm. If he fails to break through, then we will not allow him to enter the ancient mine. That would be great. Just as they were talking, a middle-aged man hurriedly walked in from outside the courtyard. He cupped his hands and said, "Sect Master, the disciple of the South Peak, Yilong Yuan, asked to see you and said that he had something to tell you. Let him in." The sect master of the Lihan sect waved his hand gently. A few of them also discussed Yilong Yuan. This person is called the Devil Incarnate. He's fearless, he hasn't been beaten to death for this kind of temper, so he's pretty awesome. He's also one of the outstanding disciples of our sect in the last year. He's very talented and will definitely reach the heaven realm in the future. These slightly praising words also showed that they thought highly of Yilong Yuan. But when Yilong Yuan came in, his hair and clothes were a little messy, and his travel-stained appearance made the sect master and the rest feel a little strange. They had seen Yilong Yuan a few times before. Although this young man was a little arrogant, his outfit was very delicate. Could it be that this kid has suffered a loss outside? Everyone had this idea, but they didn't expect Yi Longyuan's answer to be unexpected. "Sect Master, I'm in trouble," Yi Longyuan said. "I owed Zhang Han Yang 20,000 crystal stones. I thought it was a myth, but after the breakthrough, I found that I had inner demons. I didn't take it seriously at first. I thought that Zhang Han Yang had not yet broken through the Grandmaster realm. Nobody would have thought that he could kill Long Yi in 1 second. Long Yi is dead. He and several disciples in the divine realm were easily killed by Zhang Han Yang with only one move. Mugs also became Zhang Han Yang's disciple. Judging from his strength, at least he is at the Earth Peak stage. He seems to be at the Heaven realm." "What did you say?" An elder frowned and said, "Wasn't Zhang Han Yang a Wu Dao Grandmaster before? Did he kill Long Yi, or did he kill him in one move?" "Yes, there's no way we can contend against him. I can't believe he's this strong," the sect master muttered. "That's right, if he wasn't strong, how could the sect leader Mu of the floating Luo sword sect possibly allow his daughter to become someone else's disciple? Zhang Han Yang must have some special ability. The serious injury that the Pavilion of Wind and Snow suffered before might have been caused by Zhang Han Yang. After all, Mount Tanxia has been at a disadvantage for decades. A year ago, Zhang Han Yang rose in the secular world of martial arts. It's said that he's very strange and knows a lot. Perhaps it's just him who can turn the tables on Mount Tanxia, but it's incredible that he can break the heaven-earth formation. This man is indeed very strange." Passed down the order that the people of the Lihan sect shouldn't easily provoke Mount Tanxia. Also, Zhang Han Yang, no matter where he's from, the truth will eventually come out one day. Soon, the sect master made his decision. As for the 20,000 crystal stones that Yi Longyuan had mentioned, they didn't say anything. After feeling them on Yi Longyuan's body, they didn't find anything unusual. Devil of the heart? Perhaps it was something non-existent. Perhaps, after breaking through to the earth realm, that thing would naturally dissipate. 20,000 crystal stone was not a small number. For a large sect like theirs, it only has 80,000 to 100,000 a year, not to mention that the frequency of going down in the ancient mine was rather high. Yi Longyuan was only a disciple. Although he was talented, why did he take out 20,000 crystal stones for this inexistent thing? It's impossible. Even Yi Longyuan himself was still skeptical about whether the inner demons would dissipate or not. Forget it, forget it. Let's talk about it later. Anyway, I have no money. If I make a breakthrough to the Earth realm, maybe Zhang Han Yang won't be able to do anything to me. If the Earth realm can't do it, oh, then it would be the Heaven realm. Yi Longyuan believed that one day, he would be able to get rid of this mess. This matter was incomparably shocking within the Wind-Snow School. The Lihan sect had merely briefly discussed this matter. After all, this matter had nothing to do with them. Moreover, it did not cause much of a stir in the martial arts world. Now everyone knew that Zhang Han Yang had a great background and was the young lord of the Heavenly Knights sect, so they immediately understood. No wonder he was so powerful at the beginning. It turned out that he was a member of the Heavenly Knights sect, a top sect in the worldlet. He was the son of a rich family. Everyone knew that Mugs was his disciple. Everyone felt that such a hot enchantress as a disciple was also very blessed, not to mention that there was a beauty like Xian, who was his wife. He was a typical winner in life. However, with regards to other matters, the destruction of Heaven realm, the instant killing of Earth realm, and the destruction of the 8 sects alliance of Wind-Snow School, this matter had not been made public, so naturally, it had not been spread. Otherwise, Zhang Han Yang's name would shake the entire martial arts world. But Zhang Han was not interested in fame or wealth. He would accompany Xian and Meng every day, so his life could not be too perfect. 2 days later, the martial arts world once again spread a piece of exciting news. 3 days later, it was the day of the decisive battle on the divine list. At dusk, they had a showdown with each other on Mount Donglan, which was in the north of Shenzhen. The message that Emperor King sent, soared to Yanchen, the throne of the number 1 on the divine list. This news once again caught the attention of countless people. Chen Chengqing, who was second on the divine list, and Yan Chen, who was first on the divine list, were finally about to fight. At this time, Yilong Yuan, Shi Fenwu, Jiang Bing, Ding Shuming from the Luofu Sword Sect, Su Bemu of the Light Cliff, and Hu Yu of the Shadowless Sect all gave up the competition for the Divine King. This was because they were very clear that there was still a gap between their strength and Yan Chen's. Although they were somewhat unwilling and somewhat regretful, there was nothing they could do about it. When they heard the news, their first thought was, "Is the Emperor King crazy?" With a frown, Shi Fengwu stood at the edge of the cliff and looked at the scenery in front of him, murmuring, "Last time, you took second place because Zhang Han Yang killed elder martial brother Long Yi. If he didn't show up, you would have died. Now, you dare to challenge Yan Chen? Do you really think there's no reason for him to be first on the divine list?" He had personally witnessed Yan Chen's power. That person's soul technique was at the great completion level, making it difficult for others to guard against him. This was the case back when he was a Grand Master. Now that he was at the God Realm peak stage, martial artists of the same level as him were rarely able to make him perform the third move. How dare he to challenge him? According to the rules of the Divine List's challenge, if Yan Chen did not accept the challenge, then the number one on the Divine List would be placed on the Emperor King. Did he want Zhang Han Yang to kill Yan Chen so that he could take the first place comfortably? For a moment, Shi Fengwu felt a little jealousy. Damn, why is his elder brother so awesome? It's unreasonable. Last year, he was a Grand Master, but this year he is already at the Heaven Peak stage. I also want to have such a big brother. I also want to become an immortal king without much effort. The thoughts of other insiders, including Jiang Bing, were similar to his. In the beginning, they wondered if it was the young lord who did it. Given his character, it was really possible. Since they had been acquainted with each other recently, they also knew Zhang Han. The young lord was indifferent to outsiders but nice to his friends. Emperor King was his younger brother, he can't have done such a thing. As for Mugs and Zhaofeng, who were close to Zhang Han, they all knew that Zhang Han was not only indifferent to others but also ruthless to others. However, his attitude was totally different for those whom he cared about. It could be said that this news was widely discussed. Countless martial artists arrived in the vicinity of Mount Donglan ahead of time. In their expectation, the day of the decisive battle came. The Lihan sect had also taken some precautions. An elder at the Heaven Peak stage personally escorted Yan Chen to Mount Donglan. As for Chen Chengqing, he was still punctual. When dusk came, he and an old man came from the south. Oh, the first elder of the Heavenly Knight sect? The elder from the Lihan sect narrowed his eyes and cupped his hands together. "Brother Wang, how have you been?" "It's Brother Ma." The first elder laughed, and he also clapped his hands and said, "I never thought that you would personally come here to assume command. I have no choice. I'm worried about your young lord. If he kills our talented disciples in progress, who can we find justice for?" Elder Ma said with a laugh. However, as soon as he said that, more than 10,000 martial artists around him immediately burst into an uproar. What did he say? Yan Chen, who ranks first on the divine list, is no match for Zhang Han Yang. Damn it, I think I heard some kind of secret. Is he joking? Even if Zhang Han Yang breaks through to the divine realm, he may not be a match for Yan Chen. Hearing the discussion around them, Su Bemu, Shi Fenwu, and Yilong Yuan all laughed but said nothing. How can ordinary people like you know how powerful Zhang Han Yang is? There were some things that required a bit of strength in order to find out the truth. After hearing the words, the first elder of the Heavenly Knights sect slightly paused and did not refute. They probably knew how powerful the young lord was. This battle is also a struggle for Immortal King. Elder Ma's expression became a little fainter, and his voice was like thunder. The victor will be the Immortal King of this time around. Our Lihan sect is unwilling to fight with others, on the account of the relationship between Emperor King and the Heavenly Knights sect. I suggest that we stop it where it should in this battle. Please do not hurt the harmony. Elder Wang, please rest assured that I, Yan Chen from the Li Han sect, will grasp the discretion and will not harm the Emperor King's life. Their words made the Li Han sect seem grander. It felt as if Yan Chen's strength had surpassed the Emperor King, but he would spare the Cyan Emperor's life. The main reason was the arrival of the first elder of the Heavenly Knights sect. If there was only the Emperor King himself here, then he wouldn't say anything. Oh, okay then. The first elder chuckled and patted Chen Chenking on the shoulder, saying, "Then according to your brother Han's words, you only need to use 2 moves, or the third move will kill the other party." Chapter 824, coming to a close. A single word was enough to stir up an uproar. The elder of the Li Han sect simply could not believe his ears. Wait a minute. What did I just hear? He would make 2 moves, and the third move could take Yan Chen's life? Are you kidding me? If it were Zhang Han Yang who said that, I would have believed him. But why does Emperor King have to talk big like this? Everyone knows who he is after all. The kid couldn't even defeat Long Yi and almost got killed in that battle. But why was he suddenly so confident? Even Hu Yu, Su Bemu, and the other talents furrowed their brows. You can hardly find a talent like Emperor King in the secular world. However, that should not be a reason to be arrogant. His strength is still a far cry from Yan Chen's. The disciples of the world lit shared the same thought. Being a member of their sect, they certainly knew what kind of trial the top disciples of the sect would experience and how many cultivation resources they would have. Whether it was secret skills or cultivation methods, they could have as many as they wanted. Therefore, how could those in the secular martial arts world compare to them? They also knew that before the gate of the world lit opened, in the secular martial arts world, even chi strength masters could be regarded as top-notch combatants, and martial arts grandmasters only appeared in legends. What was more, many martial artists of the new generation in the secular world had never heard about the world lit before. They had been making a fool of themselves before the experts, but now, they had come to see the supreme significance of the world lit. Thus, they certainly wanted to see how powerful the talents from the world lit were. Out of those on the divine list, 49 were from the world lit, and Emperor King was the only exception. Oh right, there was another one from the secular before. But that genius ranking more than 40 died in less than 5 days after the competition started. Now, the people of the world lit were all rooting for Yan Chen, though those people no longer had a chance to win. They thought that the immortal king had to be a disciple from the world lit. If the title was taken by a secular disciple, how would they have the face to practice martial arts anymore? Therefore, when they heard the words of First Elder of Heavenly Knights sect, these people were a little angry. On the contrary, those from the secular martial arts world were heartened. Emperor King, the secular genius, he is about to compete with the talents of the world lit for the first place. I wonder if he can win this battle. If Emperor King wins, he will create his own legend. At first, I expected his elder brother, Zhang Han Yang, to help him. But Zhang Han Yang is also from the world lit, so he doesn't count. That leaves Emperor King as the strongest martial artist in the secular martial arts world. More than 10,000 people on the scene were discussing it, which drowned this place in a hubbub of voices. When Yan Chen heard their comments, the expression on his face did not change at all. He would not be angered by what others said. Emperor King, you are no match for me, Yan Chen said calmly, but since Elder Wang said so, it must not be bluff, adding that your big brother, Zhang Han Yang, is rather weird. Now I seem to be a little interested in this battle. While talking, Yan Chen kept moving forward until he was in the center of the stage. Then, he looked at Chen Chenking blandly. The battle was about to begin. Is that so? Chen Chenking moved forward and answered, my big brother did teach me kung fu. They say that I've got myself a rock-hard sponsor. As for how hard on earth the sponsor is, I'll let you announce it to the world. Ha ha ha, alright. Yan Chen laughed out loud. Then I won't stand on ceremony. Soul-swallowing wind. Swish. That was the first secret skill Yan Chen performed. His soul-swallowing wind had achieved mastery. In an instant, the sky around him changed into another color, wisps of faint black mist rose, and his fierce aura soared to the sky. It was so overwhelming that everyone could hardly breathe. At this moment, it was as if Yan Chen had transformed into a vicious ancient beast or a devil king, and was about to devour heaven and earth. A terrifying aura pervaded the air in all directions. Everyone could feel the chill in the air. It was bone-chillingly cold. Yan Chen is really powerful. Many experts had the same thought. How could Emperor King possibly fend off Yan Chen's attack? Subdue all evils. In the face of that strike, Chen King didn't turn a hair. Truthfully, he was a little nervous because he had felt the pressure. He thought of the moves that Zhang Han had taught him. This is a kind of attack that harms the opponent's constitution, right? Chen King didn't know whether the effect of the counter-attack would be good or not. Still, he directly displayed that secret skill. Thump. A dull sound suddenly rang out between heaven and earth. What's that? No one could tell. Thump, thump. Suddenly, two more thumps came out. Was it the sound of a beating heart? More than 10,000 people on the scene suddenly realized that it was the sound of a heartbeat. Could the thumps that echoed in the field be the heartbeats of heaven and earth? Thump, thump. Once again, there were the heartbeats. Everyone, even including First Elder of Heavenly Knights sect and Elder Ma of the Lihan sect, suddenly found that their heartbeats were synchronizing with the strange sound. Thump, thump, thump. The heartbeats were getting faster and faster. In an instant, it made people feel extremely bizarre and uncomfortable, as if their bodies were controlled by someone else. Yan Chen also felt the same way. His face was slightly pale as he tried his best to control his secret technique. However, to his surprise, with each heartbeat, the power of his secret technique would dissipate by 10%. Thump, thump. The sound became louder and louder. When Yan Chen's strike finally approached Chen King, it already dispersed into nothing. Suppress. A shot of light flashed across Chen King's eyes, and he made an incantation gesture with his right hand. As he shouted, thump, half of a heartbeat seemed to have transformed into an odd blow, instantly causing Yan Chen to spit out a mouthful of blood. This. Yan Chen's countenance altered slightly. A trace of confusion could be even seen in the depths of his eyes. What kind of attack was this? How is this possible? The expression of Elder Ma of the Lihan sect changed drastically. He saw clearly that wisps of mysterious energy instantly disintegrated Yan Chen's soul-swallowing wind. It was one of the top secret skills of the Lihan sect. How could it be cracked so easily? Yes, the soul-swallowing wind must have some weakness. And Zhang Han has spotted it, hasn't he? Zhang Han is too demonic. For a moment, Elder Ma felt depressed. He felt in front of Zhang Han. His secret skills were as exposed as a naked beauty. He felt ashamed and wretched. He was also a little anxious. If that was the case, once Zhang Han taught more people this art, it would be a heavy blow to the Lihan sect. Well, so far, it was just the soul-swallowing wind that had been fended off. That wasn't enough for him to panic yet. But the next moment, Elder Ma's face turned a little livid. Good, very good. Yan Chen gritted his teeth and calmed down the turbulent spiritual force in his meridians. He then cast another strike. Dead of the world. The Lihan sect was famous for its soul-related secret techniques. In the martial arts world where martial arts prevailed, there were few defensive means against spells. Therefore, the secret techniques of the Lihan sect were relatively difficult to defend against. However, this move, the Dead of the World, was more difficult to cultivate than the previous one. It was one of the top 3 secret techniques of the Lihan sect. Roar, roar, roar. A wisp of black mist suddenly slipped out from the white bracelet on Yan Chen's left wrist. It extended 10 meters forward and kept growing bigger and bigger. Spirits of the dead spread out, as though countless ghosts were rushing to Chen Qingqing to swallow him. Those spirits were not real souls of the dead but shadows created by this secret skill. In the Lihan sect, the dead of the world was the simplest but also the most difficult one among the top secret skills. It was simple because anyone could practice it. The real challenge was that it took you a long time to master it and give full play to it. One had to continue to nurture the numinous spirit treasures in order to complement this secret technique. Many disciples of the Lihan sect knew that the sect master's space ring was the nourished treasure. Once, the sect master used the dead of the world to fight two martial artists at the heaven middle stage. He killed them with this move, proving how fierce and powerful it was. Yan Chen's bracelet was also a divine weapon. Although its grade was not very high among the divine weapons, it was enough to support this move. You can't block this one. Yan Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. The dead of the world was not the second move he had planned to cast, but Emperor King made him feel that this battle could be tricky. After the first strike, Yan Chen was injured, so he decided to use the third secret skill he prepared right now in order to crush Emperor King and win the battle neatly. Your secret skill is indeed powerful. In the face of so many spirits, Chen Qingqing nodded slightly and didn't panic at all. Too bad that your opponent is me, he said flatly. Demonic Dragon Seal. Buzz. Chen Qingqing began to glow in a light blue color from head to foot. A wisp of black light, like a loach, was rotating around him. If one took a closer look, one would find that the loach was actually a tiny black dragon. Grrrr. As the dragon roar sounded, all kinds of threads suddenly appeared in front of Chen Qingqing. The threads crisscrossed, forming a complicated square mark. The moment the mark appeared, the face of the elder of the Lihan sect changed dramatically. That was because he had sensed a restraining force emanated from the mark. This mark could destroy the dead of the world. Elder Ma turned pale with fright. Now that the soul-swallowing wind was thwarted, would the dead of the world be foiled as well? Then, wouldn't it mean that Emperor King's secret skills could restrain those of Lihan sect? Dear Lord, I can't believe it. I'll use this technique to defeat you. Chen Qingqing flung his right hand forward. Sizzle. The complicated seal kept pressing forward. When it came into contact with the dead of the world, sizzling sounds were heard. Countless souls had been burnt into steam, while Chen Qingqing's seal, which was as fiery as burnt iron, was constantly destroying the thousands of souls. How is this possible? Yan Chen was suddenly at a loss. Seeing that more than half of the soul energy had dissipated, he knew that he had lost this battle. The dead of the world was one of his 5 strongest secret skills. These skills worked basically in the same way because they were all soul-related secret skills. Now that one seal his opponent cast could suppress the death of the world, it would certainly be able to suppress the other secret skills he had. A seal? Something suddenly occurred to him. It was said that when Zhang Han fought against an enemy, he often used several mysterious seals to attack, which made it difficult for people to guard against him. Who the hell is he? A bitter expression appeared on Yan Chen's face. With a wave of his right hand, he withdrew the rest of the soul energy. The consumption so far already made him feel heart-wretched. I lost. In the face of this attack, he did not make any defense. It could be imagined that when the blow hit him, Yan Chen would probably die. However, everyone was aware that Elder Ma, who was standing by his side, would never let Yan Chen die. Sure enough, as the seal continued to bear down upon Yan Chen, Elder Ma stepped forward to shield Yan Chen in a flash. Seeing this, Chen Qingqing summoned his seal back. He cupped one hand in the other before his chest and remarked, "Thank you for letting me win. I'm sorry that I won this battle by fluke." Hearing this, Elder Ma's cold face became less stern. He stared at Chen Qingqing for 3 seconds and said slowly, "When we lose, we won't deny. If Lihan sect can afford to lose, we won't go back on our word. I just want to ask you one question. Is it because of your constitution that you can perform the 2 skills or?" Although it was a little rude to inquire about it, he really couldn't help it. If everyone could cultivate these two skills at will, then the Li Han sect would really be in trouble. It's because of my cultivation method and special constitution. Chen Qingqing answered with a nod. Oh. Elder Ma looked more relaxed now. It could be seen that he was relieved. What was more, he then laughed and looked at First Elder of Heavenly Knights sect. With a smile, he said, "Congratulations. There is an amazing young lord in Heavenly Knights sect. Emperor King has won this battle, so, he is this year's immortal king. This is really unexpected, but I also need to congratulate you, Emperor King. You do have a good older brother, ha ha ha." In the hearty laughter, Elder Ma quickly left with Yan Chen, Yilong Yuan, and the others. Soon, they disappeared from the sight of the crowd. Chapter 825, New Year's Eve. Emperor King had won. It was like a dream. None of the tens of thousands of martial artists on the field uttered a word, for they were all in shock. No one had expected that Emperor King would win this battle so easily. It only took him less than half a minute to finish the battle. It took everyone by surprise. The elder just said that Emperor King had found himself a good older brother. Emperor King also admitted that his martial arts were all taught by his older brother, and his older brother was Zhang Han Yang. Damn it, why Zhang Han Yang, who hasn't even made it to the divine list, so freaking awesome. Many people present were confused, but that didn't reduce their admiration for the winner and Zhang Han Yang. Emperor King was amazing. His big brother Zhang Han Yang was also awesome. The two talents of the secular world were still legendary figures after they arrived in the world lit. Immortal King Chen. Roar. Immortal King? Immortal King? Immortal King Chen. Immortal King Chen. Dot. The cheers of tens of thousands of people gradually turned into the chanting of Immortal King Chen. Everyone shouted the three words at the same time, whose voices shook the sky. Many people's blood was boiling with excitement. Who could have imagined that Emperor King would be the winner among so many talents? Who would have thought that Zhang Han Yang, who didn't even make it to the divine list, turned out to be the one who taught Emperor King the skills that helped him win the first place? All of this seemed quite dramatic. Jiang Bing, Wang Xiao, Yan Fei Yang were silent on one side for a long time. This scene was simply too enviable. Hundreds of thousands of people were admiring and cheering for Immortal King Chen. "I'm jealous," Wang Xiao said bitterly. "Why did I break through to the Earth realm so early? How I regret it. If I were still in the God realm, I would have had a justified reason to ask young Lord for more skills. Alas, then, perhaps they would have been calling me Immortal King Wang instead. What the heck? Immortal King Wang doesn't sound right." Yan Fei Yang curled his lips. "Besides, if we were all in the God realm, on no account could you be the winner. That doesn't make sense, does it?" Jiang Bing propped up his forehead with one hand while saying, "I'm in the God realm, but in the end, I'm only in the top 10. You were just talking without putting yourselves in my shoes. If we were all in the God realm, you might not be able to defeat me. Fine, let's drop the topic. What we say doesn't matter. Anyway, young Lord is still the best. Dot." On the other side, Shi Fengyu left silently, without leaving a trace of a sneer. "Damn it, Zhang Han Yang's little brother is now an immortal king? But why am I, Shi Fengyu, still no match for him? I sure can't afford to offend him. If I run into Zhang Han Yang's forces in the future, I'll stay away from them, alright?" Mewgs, who was watching from a distance, pouted and whispered, "Master is too prejudiced. He has taught Chen Qingqing much more skills than he has taught me. No, I got back to ask for more skills. Let's go." After saying that, she beckoned at the three young maids beside her and left quickly. "How do you feel?" First Elder patted Chen Qingqing on the shoulder and asked. "It's like a dream." Chen Qingqing looked down and answered, "My feelings are mixed. I don't know that there are so many people in the martial arts world who worship me. In fact, after I met Brother Han, I already forgot that I was also a talent. Do you remember it now?" First Elder said with a rather amused expression. "No." Chen Qingqing shook his head and said, I used to be a little proud of myself. I had the king dragon blood, so my cultivation speed was extraordinarily fast, but the more powerful I became, the more I found that I was nothing. Strength is the foundation. If without Brother Han, I may not even have made it into the top 20 on the divine list. In your Brother Han's words, don't belittle yourself, you are excellent, so you should savor the victory that belongs to you. First Elder laughed out loud. He felt Chen Shenking was sort of adorable. After staying here for 2 minutes, the two parties left one after another, and so did the tens of thousands of martial artists. They soon spread the news that Emperor King had become the immortal king out to the world. On the other side, on the way to which hidden world? Don't be discouraged. In the past few centuries, there only appeared one Emperor King. He can restrain the secret skills of Li Han sect all because of his constitution and cultivation method. He is no match for you in terms of strength and foundation. Elder Ma saw that Yan Chen was silent along the way and noticed the confusion in his eyes, so he tried to comfort him. Yes, I know that, Elder Ma. Yan Chen shook his head when he heard that, but I can't deny my defeat. He can restrain my power, and that's also part of his strength. Do you think that? Suddenly, a voice sounded from the side. It was Yi Long Yuan, who looked baffled. Zhang Han Yang also restrains our powers, as I remember it. He is particularly good at the seal attack and incantations. Damn it, he is a freak. The corner of Elder Ma's mouth was slightly stiff. Stop thinking about him, he can't be judged by common sense. On second thought, he added, however, the God realm is just the beginning. When you reach the heaven realm, then it'll be the time for you to contend for the championship. Go back and practice hard, and break through Earth realm as soon as possible. It's time for you to go down to the ancient mine and go through trials for a couple of years. The ancient mine can help you grow quickly to the heaven realm. I'll tell you this, is Emperor King incredible? No, Zhang Han Yang is. But Zhang Han Yang is not the most incredible one. According to a legend in martial arts world, once, a God realm expert appeared in the world and competed for the immortal king with lightning speed. He was the immortal king before immortal King Zhang, and he reached the heaven peak stage within a year and started a bloody massacre. Later, I heard that he was from the Black and White Palace and came to the secular world to gain experience. He entered the heaven peak stage within a year. Several disciples were stunned. How quick that was! Yan Chen fell silent after hearing Yi Long Yuan's words. Yi Long Yuan was also lost in thoughts. However, when Elder Ma met their eyes, he knew that the two of them had rekindled their fighting spirit. It was not attributable to his words, but to the pressure brought by Emperor King and Zhang Han Yang. Sometimes, the sects were really glad to see this scene, for it really could raise one's spirit. But if they knew Zhang Han Yang had already been in the heaven peak stage, perhaps the boost would become desperation. Disciples of the younger generation of Wind Snow School were just like that. They felt that no matter how hard they cultivated, they still could not compare to Zhang Han Yang. The Divine List competition had come to an end. First place, Emperor King from the Jins, the secular world. Second place, Yan Chen from the Li Han sect, which hidden world. Third place, Hu Yu from the shadowless sect, Kungzu world. Fourth place, Su Bema from the Light Cliff, Seven Harmony world. Fifth place, Shi Fengwu from Wind Snow School, Saint Serene world. Sixth place, Ding Xuming from the Luo Fu Sword sect, Seven Harmony world. Seventh place, Yi Long Yuan from the Li Han sect, Witch Hidden realm. Eighth place, Jiang Bing from Heavenly Knights sect, Kungzu world. It could be said that Shi Fengwu and Jiang Bing had advanced 2 rankings without making any effort. Because the former 2 who ranked the 5th and 6th had been killed. Some new lucky candidates had made it into the top 50 on the divine list. Regardless of their rankings, at least they managed to leave their names on the list. That was a great honor for them. Nonetheless, most of the people's attention was focused on the number 1. On every forum in the martial arts world, there would always be someone posting Emperor King is awesome. Emperor King had become popular in the martial arts world. The government was also quite satisfied with the result of the Divine List competition. They had waited for more than 5 years for the world list to appear. Having looked forward to it for so long, when it finally appeared, the secular world would fall in chaos, wouldn't it? Seeing all kinds of battles occurring one after another, the government released the Divine List. As a result, the number of disputes sharply decreased. The Divine List competition turned out to be quite fierce, and many people had died. However, martial artists always had to compete with others. Injuries and death were common. After the Divine List competition was over, those people returned to the world lit to cultivate, and the disciples of the Gold Realm who stayed in the secular world did not have the desire to fight anymore. The peace in the martial arts world seemed to have been restored. The Wind Snow School and Capricemo sect were busy attacking the Dark Fire Mountain range in Ancient Mine. The disciples of these sects stayed in their territories and never went out like unmarried girls from noble families. Dong Chen and the others of Heavenly Knight's sect had changed their cultivation methods, and their strength had increased a lot. They often went into the ancient mine to fight for more resources, but every time they came out, Zhang Guanyu came to Zhang Han with space rings to let him pick the treasures first. Therefore, after several months, Mount New Moon again had lots of divine objects and herbs in the medicine field, and the holy objects and other resources were once more abundant. Dong Chen even brought a few spirit beasts with him to pay his respects to powerful High Trio every time he came to visit. To raise a divine beast to guard the mountain was definitely a time-consuming job. At the very least Dong Chen could tell that no matter what kind of spirit beast Tiny Tot ate, it was still the same. Dai and Little Hai ate very well, and their strength also increased quickly. Alas! Every time Dong Chen took off, he breathed a few sighs. He had taken too many beasts on the outskirt of the Beast Mountain. Last time, he almost got into a fight against the Beast King. If this continued, could it be that only by feeding Tiny Tot the Beast King would he see some results? When on earth would this little thing, who has cost him a huge amount of money, grow into a rock? Looking at the obedient Tiny Tot who looked like a minion, Dong Chen felt bitter. Where is your curse rock's dignity? The martial arts world became peaceful again. Even the dispute between the Heavenly Knights sect and the Wind Snow School seemed to have come to an end, but everyone knew that this peace was just the eve of another storm. Only one of the two sides could survive. There was no such thing as harmony at all. Mount New Moon was flourishing. Members of the security group focused on cultivation. From time to time, Zhang Han taught them all kinds of secret skills, like a moving scripture library. There was nothing he didn't know. First Elder of the Heavenly Knights sect already settled down in Mount New Moon. He never went anywhere but stayed in the mountain studying the Thousand Formation image every day. Even Wang Zanping and Wang Zanhong began to work on the Thousand Formation image. This made Wang Ming and the others a bit itchy. Wang Ming had just finished half of the 100 Formation image, but he wanted very much to study the 1000 Formation image. However, they could only take one step at a time. They had to spend more time on the 100 Formation image. Sect leader Mu also visited twice. Every time he tried to challenge Zhang Han was always looking after his kid and didn't have time. So far, he still hadn't had that duel as he wished. Mugs, however, taught the secret skills she had learned to sect leader Mu, who could not help but be amazed by those skills. He was very glad that Mugs taught him those skills. She is my daughter after all. Well, in fact, Mugs had already acquired Zhang Han's approval for this, but she didn't mention that to his father after her father praised her. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, the new year was around the corner. Papa, there's no snow here. I want you to carry me in your arms and go skiing. Early in the morning, Xian and Meng dressed up with extra care. They would spend this spring festival with all their families for the first time. The Ziz, the Zhangs, the Rongs, and the Wangs were all here. They made Mount New Moon very lively. Both Zhang Han and Xian's parents were here. which was also the most lively and harmonious spring festival ever. There were many branches in the big families, and they were not all solid as a rock. There would always be some disputes. Even so, in Mount New Moon, it was all peaceful and pleasant. During the day, everyone was ready to celebrate the spring festival together. Children were playing, adults were chatting, playing cards and chess. There was surely an atmosphere of reunion during the spring festival. So, at about 7 o'clock in the morning, Xian already began to dress herself and the little princess. Zhang Han sat at the back and looked at Xian and Meng Meng with tenderness. Seeing this, Meng Meng slipped into Zhang Han's arms and said that she wanted to play in a snowfield. Sure, Zhang Han nodded and said, then let us go to Ice City to play in the snow tomorrow. Chapter 826, Grandpa wants to teach Kung Fu. Papa, you're the best, I'll give you kisses. Meng Meng was very happy to hear that, so she placed several kisses on Zhang Han's cheek. Shall we go tomorrow? Xian puckered her red lips and said, today is only New Year's Eve, tomorrow is the first day of the new year, wouldn't it be too early to hang out? Why don't we wait until the 5th day of the lunar month? While speaking, Xian looked at Zhang Han to give him a hint. Huh? Meng Meng was dazed. Mama was against it again, now it was all up to Papa. The little girl had a faint feeling that if Papa couldn't bear the pressure, then they couldn't go play in the snow. Well, this. After thinking for a while, Zhang Han saw Meng Meng's cute appearance and said with a smile, it's no big deal, today is New Year's Eve, and tomorrow is the first day of the new year. We're supposed to go out to visit our relatives, aren't we? We haven't seen Uncle Gai for a long time, we can just go there to pay New Year's call. Chuckles. Xian was taken aback at first, but then she couldn't help laughing and rolling her eyes at Zhang Han. He's spoiled Meng Meng too much. To take her to ski, he even found such a lame excuse. Xian was a little speechless. After thinking for a while, she said, go and tell our parents that, if they agree, we'll go. But if they don't, Meng Meng, you just have to stay at home as we all do. I'll be wherever Papa is. Meng Meng squeezed into Zhang Han's arms and snorted. Then, seeing that Xian keep putting on all kinds of cosmetics, Meng Meng edged to Xian and leaned on her long legs. Mama, I want to do makeup, too. Ahem. Meng Meng can't use makeup. Zhang Han quickly said. Meng Meng is still young, you can't do makeup until you've all grown up. Then he looked at Xian and said, I see no difference whether you wear makeup or not. But I gotta do it, life has to have a sense of ritualism. Xian shook her head slightly and put on light makeup. Meng Meng, are you hungry? Xian patted Meng Meng's head and asked, yes, Papa, I want to have small buns and milk. Then let's go and eat first, I'll cook something delicious for you for lunch. The family of 3 went out and came to the restaurant first. It was already 8 o'clock, and there were only a few people eating breakfast. When they saw Zhang Han and his family, they greeted them as usual. After breakfast, they came to the back mountain. Many tables and chairs had been set up on the lawn, on which there were all sorts of snacks, dessert, soda, juice, and red wine. There were about 60 people seated there, talking and laughing, making the place quite lively. Quite a few children were playing on the side. They all stayed around Dai. However, Dai was still lazily lying on the lawn and nearly started to snore. Little Hai was lying beside Dai. After such a long time, Little Hai no longer sneezed as frequently as before. Zhang Han sometimes wondered if it had the ability to track treasures by smelling them. Tiny Tot was lying on Dai's belly and sleeping soundly. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Suddenly, Little Hai's nose twitched as if it had smelled something. Ow-woo, ow-woo. It let out a cry and immediately opened its eyes and ran forward. It turned out that it had picked up the smell of its masters. Oh? Dai looked up and shook its head. Did the little brother just call me? When it saw that Little Hai had run to the masters, Dai sat up and smiled. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Finally they are here. I almost fell asleep. Thud. Tiny Tot fell onto the grass, but Dai didn't notice it at all. Its enormous feet even stepped on Tiny Tot. If it were an ordinary penguin, it would definitely have been stamped dead. However, Tiny Tot was fine. It patted the ground with its wings and stood up. Coochie, coochie. Then, Tiny Tot followed behind Dai and ran towards Zhang Han. Big hi-hi, little hi-hi, Tiny Tot. Giggling. Meng ran forward and immediately started playing with Dai and the others. After a while, the Wang family, the wrong clan that arrived later, and some children from the Zha clan joined Meng and started to play. Some kids were about the same age as Meng. Children tended to fight for toys when they saw them, but when those kids saw Meng's 3 toys, they dared not to grab them at all. Some even dared not approach them. They just watched Meng play the throwing high, ride on little high to explore the lawn, and sit on Dai's shoulder while playing with Tiny Tot's wings. Morning, Mom, Dad. Xian and Zhang Han said hello and took seats next to Zhang Guangyu and Rong Jiali. After chatting with them enthusiastically for a few minutes, Zhang Guangyu looked at Meng and could not help waving his hand and called, Meng, come here and let Grandpa adore you for a while. I haven't done playing yet, so I'm not going. Meng was having a good time, when she saw that her grandfather, who always looked for her papa and took him away, was greeting her. She didn't want to go there at all. Hearing Meng's answer, many people present were stunned. The next moment, Dong Chen and First Elder burst into laughter. Guangyu, you are quite a catch. It was obvious that he meant it to be sarcastic, which made Zhang Guangyu look rather awkward. What's going on? Since when does my granddaughter have a problem with me? Meng, your grandfather wants you here. At this, Xian called Meng in a hurry, and there was a mandatory edge in her tone. This little girl was too naughty. Every time this happened, Xian would have to step out and put things back in control. Would Zhang Han play the bad cop once? How was that possible? At the thought of this, Xian got a little angry. Zhang Han always played the good cop, leaving Xian to be the bad cop. Now the father and the daughter were on the same front line, so they often joined hands to trick her. Meng was a little afraid of Xian. After all, she might really spank her. All right, I'm coming. Meng pouted her little mouth and patted Dai on the neck. Whoa. Dai wandered to the edge of the lawn, put Meng down, and sat down on the lawn, waiting for her to come back. Grandpa. Meng ran to Zhang Guangyu's side and greeted him with a chuckle. It was as if she wasn't the one who had just cold-shouldered him. Seeing this, all the people present couldn't help laughing. Even Zhang Guangyu chuckled despite himself. Bad girl Meng, you're going to be 1 year older. Yeah, Grandpa, I'm already 5 years old. Meng raised her cute hand and stretched out 5 fingers. Ha ha ha, yes. Meng is 5 years old. Grandpa got to give you a New Year's present, Zhang Guangyu said with a smile. Huh? Meng's big, clear eyes lit up. Take a look. With everyone gazing at them, Zhang Guangyu took out a box from behind and said beamingly, Grandpa wants to give you a special gift. Open it now and see if you like it. Okay, thank you, Grandpa. Meng said happily. Holding the half-meter-long box, she came to Zhang Han and sat on a big chair next to him. Papa, let us open this together. Sure. Zhang Han smiled and untied the ribbon with Meng, but the moment he opened the box, the corner of Zhang Han's mouth stiffened. Lying in the box was a very delicate, beautiful, and exquisite wooden broadsword. Why give her this? Do you want my daughter to learn how to use a broadsword from you? Dad, you want to teach your lame broadsword art to your granddaughter? Won't that lead her astray? Zhang Han almost got that remark out, but he knew that if he said it, Zhang Guangyu, with his bad temper, might have to exert the domestic discipline on him. Forget it, I can't afford to offend him. Ahem, Zhang Han coughed and said, Meng, Papa has given you a small wooden sword before. And now there is a small wooden broadsword, let's put it away and treasure it. This is your grandpa's New Year's gift for you. Hey, why put it away, she'll need it every day. Zhang Guanyi waved his hand and said, I've thought this through. Since I'm free recently, I'm going to teach my granddaughter Kung Fu. What did you say? Xian and Zhang Han's eyes gradually widened in surprise. Isn't it too sudden? Humphrey, this fellow has become confident after making the breakthrough, hasn't he? Dong Chen, who was sitting next to them, taunted. Might be. Well, since he has nothing to teach his son, he has to start with his granddaughter. First elder laughed and mocked as well. Talk all you want, but I choose not to hear you. Zhang Wenyu acted as if he didn't hear those words at all. Ignoring the others, he continued, although she is a girl, she still can learn martial arts. Look at Muggs, she is a great martial artist now, so I have to give Meng Meng elementary education and teach her the basics. Meng Meng, do you want to learn martial arts from me? Dad, it's not your turn to teach her. Just when Zhang Han was about to refute, Xian secretly kicked him in the foot, indicating that he should not say anything. There are so many people here, and it's the spring festival, why not let your father enjoy the moment? When Zhang Han met Xian's eyes, the corner of his mouth trembled, but he didn't say anything in the end. Huh? Meng Meng, however, was slightly stunned. She turned to look at Papa, not knowing whether she should say yes or not. Rong Jiali just smiled. She also knew that her husband had been thinking about this for quite a while. He had made it to the heaven realm and went down to the ancient mine 2 times. Now he had much leisure time, so he wanted to teach Meng Meng some martial arts. Rong Jiali understood that, so she suggested, Meng Meng, do you want your grandpa to show you a piece of his martial arts? Then you'll know whether you like it or not, and you can decide whether to take lessons from him. Well, Mother has also shown her stance. Zhang Han swallowed and felt helpless. As a son, I can't say things like that to my parents. Fortunately, Zhang Wenyu only planned to teach Meng Meng some basics, not cultivation methods, so it did not affect Zhang Han's plan. Forget it, let it be, as long as my parents are happy. So, Zhang Han compromised. Ziqiang and Zixiniu on the side were also intrigued. Ziqiang laughed and said, Guanyu, now you're so good at martial arts, why don't you teach me as well? Ziqiang was purely fooling with him. No, you can't learn what I'm gonna teach Meng Meng. Zhang Guanyu waved at him and said, Ziqiang, don't mess things up, I'll play chess with you later, okay? Ha ha ha, sure, then I'll wait for you. Ziqiang then laughed. He also did not want to disturb Zhang Guanyu's performance. My dear granddaughter, watch this, martial arts can help. Help to build up your body, and help others when they are in trouble. Do you understand? I don't. As Zhang Han hadn't said anything, Meng Meng didn't know what to do, so, she answered in confusion. Seeing the expression on the little girl's face, Zhang Wenyu knew that she didn't understand what was going on. Therefore, he explained, if you learn martial arts from me, you'll become stronger. For example, if your classmates are bullied by others, you can do this. Ha ha, then you'll beat the bad guys and drive them away with a few moves. Yes, when you learn martial arts, you can beat away bad guys. You can even run fast and also. Zhang Guanyu began to tempt her. He had had a pity that he never got round to teach Zhang Han cultivation. For more than 5 years, he had planned to find Zhang Han to teach him all his skills when he went out of the worldlet, but to his huge surprise, God had made a big joke by making his son way better than himself. So now, Zhang Wenyu decided to teach Meng Meng and make up for the regret. Chapter 827, A Ton of Gifts. My dear granddaughter, although Meng Meng is a girl, who said girls can't cultivate, all the more reason for her to learn martial arts. Besides, my little granddaughter is such a pretty girl, she has to know the basic defensive techniques so that we can rest assured. Zhang Wenyu had given a lot of points that could around temptation, but he didn't know which point he had made let Meng Meng's eyes slightly alight with interest. There's a chance. Zhang Wenyu was so excited that he couldn't wipe off the smile on his face. Dong Chen and the others were speechless. Come on, no matter how bad your aptitude is, you are still a martial artist in the heaven realm, one of the top fighters in the world, but now, you're shamelessly tricking a little girl to learn martial arts from you. Oh my! The world is going downhills. However, since Meng Meng was Zhang Guangyu's granddaughter, no one could bring themselves to differ. In fact, they were still happy for Zhang Guangyu when they saw that. The atmosphere in the Heavenly Knights sect had been extremely depressing in the past few years. Young Master had also been worried for a long time. Today, seeing that he was so happy, they also felt happy for him. Dong Chen and other elders had all taken the Heavenly Knights sect as their home. They had also regarded Zhang Wenyu as their junior. They also taught Zhang Wenyu martial arts when he was a child, so, it could be said that they had watched Zhang Wenyu grow up. Just because they were very close to him, they occasionally liked to tease him for fun. Then I'm going to perform martial arts for you. Well, Grandpa, let's get started. Okay, here you are. Vigorous like a tiger, Zhang Guanyu began to perform boxing skills. He had already thought about how to put on a show, adding that Rong Jiali just reminded him that Meng Meng would make the decision upon whether she liked it or not. Zhang Guanyu knew he must do an appealing show of martial arts. Therefore, Zhang Guanyu gave a side kick. He leapt into the air so that his body was more than 1 meter above the ground. He spun 360 degrees and gave a horizontal kick. Then, he did a somersault in the air and landed with grace. The moment he landed on the ground, he squatted and made a sweeping kick. His fists slapped at the air ceaselessly, making an imposing rasping sound. These tricks were like child's play to Zhang Guanyu, but he also enjoyed the show. He had been observing Meng Meng from the corner of his eyes. Now that he hadn't seen any sign of expectation or interest in Meng Meng's eyes, he unhurriedly paused. Then, he grabbed another wooden broadsword from the side and began to show off his brilliant broadsword skills. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The wooden broadsword even seemed to start glinting like a real blade. It rose and fell, charged forward and darted back, which looked very domineering. In order to teach his granddaughter, my dad has really exerted himself. Watching his father performing martial arts, Zhang Han didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was considering to have a talk with Zhang Wenyu later to figure out what he planned to teach Meng Meng on Earth. Then, Zhang Han could draw the bottom line. At least, Zhang Wenyu's lectures should not affect the teaching he had prepared for Meng Meng. Also, Dad, don't think that you can let Meng Meng learn how to use a broadsword just because you gave her a wooden broadsword. You want a girl to learn broadsword craft from you? No way. I will ask Meng Meng to hide the wooden broadsword right off. It could be said Zhang Han cared about Meng Meng to the morrow. As long as it was about Meng Meng, he would think it over and over again, trying to give her the best. Maybe that was what every father thought. In fact, sometimes Zhang Han felt that his father was gentler to Zhang Li. I don't know what it feels like to have a son, but I seem to love my daughter more. She's my sweetie. While thinking, Zhang Han looked at Meng Meng affectionately. Xian noticed that and curled her lips. Fortunately, she was not jealous of her daughter, otherwise, she would have drowned in jealousy every day. Bravo! Impressive! That's amazing! As Zhang Wenyu went on with his show, bursts of cheers came from every corner of the place. Even Wang Xiao couldn't help but clap his hands. What a dashing move! Out of all the audience, the powerful high trio were the ones who showed the strongest support. Dai shouted at the top of its lungs. Whoa, 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 whoa. Little Hai also raised its head and howled. Ow, woo, 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 woo. Now that the two brothers had cheered, Tiny Tot cooperatively flapped their wings in haste and squawked. Coochie, coochie. Seeing this, the people around them were stupefied. Although the audience had given Zhang Wenyu face, their whoops did not attract Zhang Wenyu's attention. Though it was not surprising that the ordinary people watching the show had cheered, it indeed was so when a group of martial artists also started to act like they were impressed. After all, who didn't know that Zhang Wenyu was performing some useless moves just for show? The result of the show was not bad. At least Meng Meng was a little dazed when she saw the moves his grandpa performed. Phew. The show was neither too long nor too short. 5 minutes later, Zhang Wenyu withdrew his strength, did 2 somersaults, and landed steadily on the ground. Then, he looked at Meng Meng and asked with a smile, "What do you think, my granddaughter? Isn't Grandpa bravo?" "Well, Grandpa is bravo. You can even jump up and spin in midair." Meng Meng's big bright eyes blinked. "Do you want to learn martial arts from Grandpa? If you learn some, you can also be that awesome." Am I going to learn it, Papa?" Meng Meng turned to look at Zhang Han. Swish. Zhang Wenyu also darted his eyes to Zhang Han in an instant as if saying, "If you don't say no, don't blame me for kicking your ass." He looked like he was really going to hit someone. "Well, you sure can. Your grandfather is right. If you learn some skills, you can protect yourself. You'll also be able to protect your dad," Zhang Wenyu added. To everyone's surprise, Meng Meng's eyes lit up upon hearing that remark. "Really? I'll be able to protect Papa?" Zhang Wenyu's expression changed. He quickly answered, "Yes, you can protect your father if you learn martial arts. How amazing that is." "Grandpa, I'll learn Kung Fu from you." Meng Meng agreed without hesitation. Ha ha ha. While laughing, Zhang Wenyu felt drained. This was his granddaughter he was dealing with. It really took him a lot of effort to persuade her to learn some skills from him. What he didn't know was that Zhang Han had also racked his brain when he tried to persuade Meng Meng to change her name. Well, they just had to. After all, Meng Meng was their little princess. "That's settled then. From tomorrow on, Grandpa will teach you martial arts." Zhang Wenyu breathed a sigh of relief inwardly. With a look of pride, he went back to his chair and sat down. At this moment, Zhang Han said, "I'm afraid it can't start from tomorrow. Meng Meng wants to play in the snow, so I'll take her to the northeast tomorrow." "Ah?" Ziqiang's face turned stiff. "You're leaving tomorrow? But tomorrow is the first day of Chinese New Year. Your mother and I have nothing to do lately but will be busy in a few days. Why don't you let us spend more time with our granddaughter?" Zhang Han didn't know how to answer his father-in-law. Anyway, he could not turn him down in person. Meng Meng was a little anxious. She looked at Ziqiang and muttered, "Then Grandpa can go to play in the snow with us, eh?" Ziqiang's expression froze for a moment, and he was a little tempted, but on second thought, he said hesitantly, "Is it sort of inappropriate to go out to play on the first day of the new year?" He turned to look at Xuanhuan, for he couldn't make up his mind. "Well, if our granddaughter wants to play in the snow, then let's go to the northeast and play. Accommodation is no problem, because old Gai is there. My dear granddaughter, we will all accompany you to play in the snow. But when you come back after that trip, you'll work hard to learn martial arts from your grandpa, okay?" "Got it, Grandpa. You're so nice, Grandpa. I'll give you a kiss." Meng Meng said happily. She threw a kiss to Zhang Wenyu. Zhang Wenyu was not satisfied with that. He insisted that Meng Meng should place a kiss on his kiss for real. Seeing this, Ziqiang and Xuanhuan exchanged a look and felt that it was actually a good idea. "I haven't skied for 2 years. I think I can use some fun." Xuanhuan smiled. Therefore, their schedule was decided, and anyone who wanted to go to the northeast could join them. For a time, many people found that idea appealing. The younger generation of the Ziclan were all born in Singapore. They had skied indoor, but they rarely did that on snow-capped mountains. So, they were very interested, and they all wanted to enjoy the winter in the north. While they were talking about it, Wang Zanping glanced at Wang Ming. Wang Ming immediately understood her thoughts. He got up and went to Zhang Han, then, He took out a small present box from his pocket. Meng Meng, it's Chinese New Year, and I want to give you a small gift. Thank you, granduncle. Good girl. Wang Ming walked back with a smile. Then came Wang Ya. Meng Meng, I've also prepared a gift for you. Seeing this scene, the other members of Wang family all looked at each other. The Zhi clan, the Rong clan who had been here for the Spring Festival, and Wang Xiaoan members of the Heavenly Knights sect all exchanged looks. Soon, they lined up to send gifts. They were all grateful to Zhang Han. Since it was the Spring Festival, of course they had prepared gifts, but it was not easy to find something suitable to give Zhang Han and Xian, so they decided to give Meng Meng some presents. Thus, they have all carefully prepared the gifts. After seeing Zhang Guengyi who gave Meng Meng the broadsword, they all prepared to give their gifts. Now the right time had come. They all rushed to give the gifts to Meng Meng. Meng Meng was very delighted, for it was her first time to receive so many gifts. When she was living with Mama and Auntie Fei Fei in the past, she seldom received gifts from others, but now, stacks of exquisite gift boxes had occupied the entire table next to her. There were so many presents that she didn't know how to count them all. Watching Meng Meng giggling, Zhang Han felt a tinkle of guilt. In fact, the reason that Meng Meng had been so clingy to him had something to do with what had happened in the past few years. Fortunately, it did not make too much of a blow to the young and delicate girl. This was also one of the reasons Zhang Han doted on Meng Meng so much. It took an hour for the gift receiving to end. Staring at the large piles of gifts, Meng Meng didn't know what to do. Then let's take the gifts back and open them first, Zhang Han suggested with a smile. Sure. Meng Meng answered jubilantly. Then Zhang Han asked Zhao Feng to push her food trolley and put all the gift boxes on it. After that, he and Xian took Meng Meng back to the castle. Later, they spent the whole morning opening the gifts. These gifts were carefully prepared. Some were diamond ornaments, some were handmade lucky pendants, some were embroidery, and some were custom-made music boxes. There were all kinds of items. It could be seen that they had put a lot of thought into the gifts. Meng Meng, why are you so cute? Look, no one gave Mama a gift, it's all yours. At Meng Meng's proud look, Xian smiled and pinched Meng Meng's small nose. Huh? Meng Meng was stunned. After thinking for a few seconds, she patted the large pile of gifts and said, well, what's mine is Mama's. She was a sweet daughter after all. Let's go out and play. We'll have lunch at the back of the mountain. Xian beamed. Zhang Han wanted to make lunch at first, but since everyone was going to eat together at the Thunder Yang tree, they didn't give Zhang Han a chance to show off his cooking. The family of three went out and came to the back mountain. Meng Meng immediately ran to Dai to play. Zhang Han and Xian came to the tables and sat down, then they started to chat with the people around them. Shen Chengqing, who could now be called Immortal King, was spending the Spring Festival in Shangjing. Having obtained such a great honor, his family wanted to celebrate, and he couldn't reject them, otherwise, he would have stayed in Mount New Moon for the Spring Festival. But he was in touch with Zif at all times. As Zif mentioned that they were all going to the north to see snow tomorrow, Shen Chengqing said that he would wait for them at Uncle Gai's place. Chapter 828, Visiting Gai Clan. Zhang Han also let Mugs take days off returning to Luofu Sword Sect, otherwise, sect leader Mu would have brought the entire family here to spend the new year. As for others, while Liu Qingfeng would spend the new year in Linhai City, Ahu brought a few brothers that to have fun too. Most of the others stayed at Mount New Moon. They seemed to have heard about Zhang Han's family trip plan. This afternoon, all the powerful families in Xiangjiang came to wish them a Happy New Year. Mr. Zhang, Miss Zi, Happy New Year. Luo Shan, Luo Chengwen, and others were the first to arrive and offered 2 bottles of wine from their collections as gifts. Then, Chu family, Ma family, Tanan, Zhuwash Wang, Mo Chengfeng, Luxung, Fang Rashan, and others who were close to him from the martial arts world all visited him. It really baffled some people from New Moon Bay. Why did so many big shots motorcades drove here today? Some insider informed them, it's pretty normal. Don't you know about Mount New Moon? Meng Meng's recreational restaurant is a large private manor belonging to the present boss of Meng Meng Group. It's pretty badass. Many powerful figures have meals there every day. A lot of people did not find such a scene strange. It was on the Chinese New Year's Eve. Fireworks exploded in the sky of Mount New Moon and hundreds of firecrackers shot out. The scene left many New Moon Bay residents in awe, making them take out their phones to record the beautiful moments. For a small kid like Meng Meng, the fun was even greater. Meng Meng lit up various firecrackers all by herself. Every time she ignited one, Meng Meng would hurry back to Zhang Han's side. I'm so scared. Then, she covered her ears and looked at the exploding firecrackers. Meng Meng was giggling, and there were so many people around her. The entire mountain was brightly lit, with people talking to each other. It was such a lively scene. The happy atmosphere permeated, leaving even some introverted people laughing and horsing around. That made Ziqi and Wang Ming feel like they had gone back to the new year when they were children. It had not been lively like this in a long time. At 11 o'clock at night, a large group of people was having dinner in the dining room. The main dishes were rice cakes and dumplings. Moreover, there was also a table full of sumptuous and delicious cuisines. After dinner, the exciting day also ended. Zhang Han's family of 3 returned to the castle. Meng Meng still looked pumped up. Papa, I got so many presents this time. Meng Meng looked at the gifts all over the table on her side and said while giggling, of all those gifts, Meng Meng is the most adorable. Zhang Han smiled and stroked the little girl's head. HMPH, Papa is adorable too. I love you so much. Then what about Mama? You only love him? I guess you'll almost forget about Mama. Xian rolled her eyes, while a smile was lingering on her lips. It was also the first time that she had had such a lively New Year with so many people. Back in the days at Ziklan, though there were also many people and guests every year, basically every family would compare their connections with other people. They would see who had powerful guests and judge their power thereby. It was never harmonious like this year. Of course, she also knew that it was all due to her super powerful husband. She could never imagine living such a happy life. When she got pregnant, her heart was also hurt more or less. The child's dad was just an accident and she did not even know him. She had even thought about finding a rich young master in Shangjing while she raised her kid alone, refusing to look for Zhang Han. Maybe she would find her fate in the future and have a home. However, in the end, she heard about Zhang Han's downfall and Zhang Han was stubborn too. Only then did Xian start to change her mind and returned with Meng Meng. Then, who would have known that she just grabbed her happiness like that? Xian felt a little sentimental inside. Only 1 year had passed, and she had been feeling somewhat desperate last year, but now, she felt so sweet. The way she looked at Zhang Han was especially tender and delicate like her, directly leashing out a stream of electricity. Sizzle sizzle, hiss. Zhang Han gasped and lifted Meng Meng up to tumble down on the bed. All right, little baby should go to sleep. It's already past 12. But I'm not sleepy yet. Papa, I want to check out those gifts. Tomorrow, okay? Now it's time to hear Dad's bedtime story. Ahem, the king of dwarves. Seeing Zhang Han got anxious, Xian had a trace of pinkish color crawling onto her pretty face. Finally, after a dozen minutes and Zhang Han had made Meng Meng go to sleep, he held Xian up and walked to the opposite bedroom. The most precious time is priceless. At 3 o'clock in the morning, splashing sounds rang in the bathroom. However, for some unknown reason, there were some vague groans. Okay. They did it again. Zhang Han and Xian did not go back to the bedroom to sleep until it was 5 o'clock. It seemed that they were destined to oversleep the next day. At around 9 o'clock, Meng Meng became the first one to wake up. Zhang Han personally dressed the little princess up. With the braiding skills he had learned, he made beautiful braids for Meng Meng. Papa, I'm going to check out those gifts. Okay, then I'll stay with you too, and then I'll go make breakfast. Meng Meng has to be quiet, don't wake Mom up. You have to only wake Mom up after Dad has made breakfast. I got it. Zhang Han held Meng Meng's little hand and rummaged through those gifts. He picked out some toys for Meng Meng and let her play sitting on the sofa. Then, Zhang Han came to the kitchen to start cooking. It was too late for breakfast and too early for lunch. Well, you could call it whatever you want. At about 10 o'clock, under Zhang Han's instructions, Meng Meng instantly put down toys and hopped on the bed. Getting close to Xian, she grabbed a strand of Xian's hair by her little hand and brushed it on Xian's nose. Meng Meng, stop it. Xian mumbled. I don't want to either, but Papa asked me to wake you up. Mama, get up, rise and shine, Papa has made breakfast. Meng Meng took the responsibility of waking Xian up. Less than 5 minutes later, Xian also sat up and got up. When she saw Zhang Han, she rolled her eyes too. He really exhausted her. She got up and quickly washed. The family of 3 went to the dining table. There were milk-steamed buns which Meng Meng and Xian both liked. There were also stuffed buns, milk, eggs, bread slices, etc. For 3 people, it was really sumptuous. Elder sister Yan, we'll get going soon, you should get up now. Downstairs, Zif's yelling rang. Yes, did you eat? You want to grab some here? Zhang Han was thoughtful and knew Xian was not used to yelling, so he quickly answered. I've eaten, I'll be waiting for you downstairs. Zif screamed weirdly again. Hurry, HMPH, I guess she's eager to see her beloved husband. Xian smiled. Of course, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Zhang Han laughed. What is absence makes the heart grow fonder? Asked Meng Meng while drinking milk. It means, when a couple don't see each other for days, they will get really close to each other when they see each other again. Answered Zhang Han. Meng Meng did not understand that and did not ask further. Instead, she turned to bury herself in breakfast. After breakfast, while Zhang Han cleaned the kitchen, Xian went to dress herself up with Meng Meng. Last night, they had not packed up, therefore, she took out suitcases and started packing with Meng Meng. These are the down jackets we bought last year, we get to wear these this time. Mama, I want this toy. It's too big for the suitcase. If you really like that, we'll get another for you at Ice City. Okay. It was a pure blessing. Hearing the child and mother pair talking made Zhang Han's lips curl up in happiness. Let's go. The family of 3 was ready to go. They were probably the last ones to set off because most of the others had arrived at the company. It was 10 minutes before the plane took off that Zhang Han's family of 3 and Zuf arrived at the spot. During this trip, both planes had been used due to a large number of people. Luckily, Gai clan was really powerful in northeast areas, so it was very easy to accommodate them. Sitting on one of the 3 connected chairs in the front row, Zhang Han thought for a while before taking out his phone to dial a number. Xuanhuan, I'll probably arrive after 4 at Ice City, we should meet tonight. Back then when Zhang Han and Xian held a wedding, Zhang Han's friends at Ice City, Xuanhuan, Chen Man, and Fu Hongshan, had all come. Because there were many people, he had to make many preparations. Therefore, Zhang Han had only greeted them. Feeling that he had failed to receive them properly, he was thinking about buying a few drinks for them alone this time while at Ice City. Hearing Zhang Han's words, Xuanhuan sounded pleasantly surprised. Brother Han, you're coming here? Great, no problem. I'll go tell Big Man and Elder Fu that we'll have a few rounds tonight. Sure. After he hung up, the plane was just about to take off. At that time, Meng Meng asked, Papa, where are we going to have fun tonight? We'll have dinner with the uncles you've met at Xiangjiang last time. Meng Meng wanted to follow her Papa to the meal. Nevertheless, This time, Xian did not agree. She wanted to bring Meng Meng to Gai clan to wish them a happy new year. She thought that with her and Meng Meng, not to mention Zhang Han, even his three friends were a little reserved, and they did not seem able to say whatever they wanted. On second thoughts, she decided not to go to the meal and just let them meet themselves. The flight would take a few hours, so after chatting for a while, Xian and Meng Meng fell asleep with blankets on their shoulders. She was not a martial artist and did not go to sleep until 5 o'clock a.m. yesterday, so it was only natural that she felt sleepy now. Waking up, she found herself at Ice City. It was in February, and the temperature here was also very low. Everyone changed into down jackets and cotton-padded coats. Even Xian went to the bedroom on the plane to get changed. She put on a pair of flesh-color leggings, white boots, a sweater, and a thigh-high dress. With a beige and fashionable down jacket on her, she looked stylish in another way. Meng Meng got dressed nearly like her. Zhang Han also put on a coat, though he did not feel cold. Even before they got off the plane, a long line of cars had been waiting here. In front of them, Gai Xingkong seemed odd in this weather by wearing only a thin long gown. Beside him stood a group of Gai clan seniors such as Gai Yulong, Wang Yu, Jiali. Ha ha ha, Happy New Year. Han, Yan, Meng Meng, Happy New Year. After greeting each other, they got into the car while Zhang Han stayed. A window was rolled down on an MPV in the middle, and Meng Meng's small head popped out. She waved her hand while looking at Zhang Han. Papa, get home soon, or Mama and I will both be missing you. Okay, after you have dinner, I'll be back. Zhang Han smiled while waving his hand. Mwah mwah. Meng Meng sent a few air kisses and then rolled up the window. That made Xian a little upset. I just wanted to kiss him too, that bratty kid. Chapter 829, Jiang Clan's Trouble. Seeing the motorcade leave, Zhang Han walked into the airport and sat on a nearby chair. After waiting for a dozen minutes, Fu Hongshan called. Zhang Han probed with his soul sense and immediately knew where they were. They were waiting outside the entrance of the second floor. Fu Hongshan changed his car. This time, he was driving a black Mercedes-Benz G-Class vehicle. The three were smoking, standing beside the car. Seeing Zhang Han, they all smiled and hurried to him. Brother Han, Happy New Year. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect you would come to Ice City at a time like this. My daughter wants to have fun with snow, so I went over. Zhang Han casually answered. It made them involuntarily gasp. The last time they went to Xiangjiang, they had really witnessed how powerful Zhang Han was. There were many business tycoons who they had only seen on TV. However, at that time, they saw them in the flesh. They even smiled enthusiastically at them. They all talked to each other despite their different social standing. Fu Hongshan clearly remembered that when he introduced himself as Zhang Han's friend, those rich people even looked envious. The daughter of a rich family, Jiang Tongdong, really changed her views on the world. She had thought Zhang Han was already powerful, but she did not expect his power to be that great in Xiangjiang. Well, why didn't Yan and Meng Meng come? Fu Hongshan looked around and found Zhang Han was all alone, so he asked. They've gone to visit Gai clan. I see. Hop in, Brother Han. Chen Man laughed. Without them here, Brother Han can drink more. You actually said that with your alcohol tolerance? Zhang Han could not help taunting him. Hearing that, Chen Man and others smiled awkwardly. Let's go. Brother Han can surely drink, and none of us can compare. Fu Hongshan opened the door to the front seat passenger's seat, while he hopped onto the driver's seat. It could be said as a big improvement. If he could drive a car worth millions, Elder Fu could be seen as successful as a son-in-law under his wife's parents' roof. Once in the car, Fu Hongshan casually said, as expected from Brother Han, merely your name has put us above everyone. I even started to get in touch with Jiang Clan's core enterprises. Back then, I actually thought those rich kids have money, can fool around, spend freely, live luxuriously, and have fun every night. I never realized that is far from the truth. I get as busy as a bee because there's a lot of stuff I need to learn. That's right. Now that Xuanhuan and I follow Elder Fu, I'm really afraid I'll lose face for knowing too little. Xuanhuan laughed, but when we're free, we'll sometimes drive our luxury cars to hit on girls. That does feel great. Why didn't you bring your girlfriend this time? Zhang Han casually asked. Well, she's waiting in the restaurant. If she comes with us, you might find it uneasy. Fu Hongxuan smiled while answering. They talked and laughed. It seemed that their lives were pretty good. The saying that when a man attains enlightenment, even his pets ascend to heaven did not come out of nowhere. With their connections to Zhang Han and Zhang Han, they felt just like fish in water. Gai clan's power was great, and who would not respect them? Driving for an hour, the car arrived at the restaurant named Fu Yu Traditional Restaurant, a well-known local restaurant. When they entered a private room on the third floor, Jiang Tongdong had been waiting for a while. Seeing them, she hurriedly sat up to greet them. Happy New Year, Brother Han. Yeah, Happy New Year. Zhang Han answered and everyone got into their seats. Jiang Tongdong told the waiter to serve the dishes. While she walked past, Zhang Han saw her slightly bulging belly. Pregnant? Zhang Han smiled and looked at Fu Hongxuan. Ha ha, Brother Han really has sharp eyes. You can even tell that when she's only been pregnant for a month. Fu Hongxuan laughed. I'm catching up with Brother Han. Your baby girl can even run about on her own. I'm thinking that I shouldn't fall too far behind, so I decided to have my own kid too. Congratulations. Zhang Han smiled and took out a fruit that belonged to the heaven-grade treasure category. He put it in front of Fu Hongxuan. Take it back to cook it for her to eat. It can improve her body conditions. Thank you, Brother Han. Jiang Tongdong first froze and then quickly thanked him, feeling warm in her heart. She felt Zhang Han was thoughtful. You haven't held a wedding, have you? Zhang Han asked again. Not yet, we've arranged it on May 21st. Fu Hongxuan accepted the apple-like fruit and smiled. If Brother Han is free at that time, you can come. If you don't, it's okay too. Just send us your good wishes. Sure. Zhang Han did not promise anything. If he promised him and he could not come because he got caught up in other stuff, he might just not make any promise in the first place. While they talked, various dishes were served. There were only 5 of them, but they had ordered more than 20 dishes. People who ate like a bird would almost get full after a bite of every dish. During the meal, they also started to drink. After they drank glasses and glasses of local specialty beers, the atmosphere slowly got lively. However, because of pregnancy, Jiang Tongdong suddenly rushed out in the middle of the meal. Apparently, it was morning sickness. Seeing that, Fu Hongxuan quickly followed. Having watched that scene, Zhang Han froze a little bit. Back then, Xian must be like this too. Nevertheless, she only had herself. Though Zif was taking care of her, it was still very different. Everything goes. Zhang Han felt a little sentimental and drank a few more with Chen Man and Xuanhuan. During the talking, he also learned how they had been. The two worked with Fu Hongxuan, who decided to gain a foothold in Jiang clan enterprises and also wanted his own men beside to help him. However, the two themselves had said that they would gain positions with their own ability. Recently, they had been studying and was starting from the bottom. They had just got into the business world and was still trying to make deals. After about a few minutes, Fu Hongxuan and Jiang Tongdong returned. Less than a few minutes after they sat down, Jiang Tongdong's phone rang. Once in the car, Fu Hongxuan casually said, "I'll go get this." After saying that, she walked out of the private room. Zhang Han continued talking with them. When Jiang Tongdong returned, they all found that she looked a little pale. She looked at Zhang Han with a complicated expression. She wanted to say something but stopped. It seemed that she was thinking that if she should say it, there's something. Tongdong? Before she finished, Fu Hongxuan frowned and looked a little sulky. He said, "It's the new year. Don't talk about irrelevant stuff, sit down and eat more, go home if you don't feel well. Well, did that mean she had trouble? Naturally, Zhang Han could tell by one glance. He saw that Jiang Tongdong obediently sat down and looked bad. She slightly bit her lower lip and looked very upset. It'll affect the baby, just say it if there's anything, while I still have time now. Zhang Han smiled and said, it's nothing big, it's just that something came up in Tongdong's family, we'll just skip that since it's the new year. Fu Hongshan waved his hand. Actually, he felt a little bitter inside too. Inside, he wanted to try asking Zhang Han, but he just could not bring himself to do it. His being in the current position was exactly thanks to Brother Han. At that time, Jiang Tongtong's eyes turned slightly red and her voice sounded a little husky. But during the new year, they've gone to my house. What? Fu Hongshan changed his face. They've gone to your home? Well. At that time, Zuxiao got a little anxious and said in a blaming tone, what are you trying to hide now, Elder Fu? Brother Han is a big shot. I know you don't want to trouble Brother Han with it, but so what if you tell us about it? We're friends. If Brother Han has a way, he won't stand and watch. If he can't help, then we'll figure out something else. Tongdong is pregnant, don't affect the baby. Is it from work? Zhang Han drank a glass of beer on his own, raised his left hand to check the watch, and said, I don't have much time, shoot it if you want to tell me, or I'll be gone in a while. Seeing that, Fu Hongshan moved his lips but did not say anything in the end. Instead, he shot a glance at Jiang Tongdong. Jiang Tongdong quickly sat straight and her voice was a little shaky. Our Jiang clan enterprises are mainly in the imported goods business. Last month, in the East Sea area, 5 nautical miles away from Xinjiang port, 2 cargo vessels met a martial artists fight. The 2 vessels were about to bypass them, but they went in the vessel's direction during the fight. One of them fled into the vessels and the other just directly destroyed the vessels with cargoes worth 300 million. It's a very important business for our Jiang clan. Now we not only lost 300 million but also have to pay a default fee of 100 million, which we simply can't afford. Later we knew that the attacking martial artist is from Xia clan in Kinnan. Our family sent someone to talk to them but they did not even allow us in. We didn't have a way. My third uncle is also a martial artist so he asked around. Then he knew that the attacker is not only a Xia clan martial artist but also a sect disciple in that powerful world lit. The sect is in the northeastern area, it's called Xuanhuan sect. Now sects in the world lit are all recruiting disciples. So we tried to spread the word about Xuanhuan sect's disciple bullying a secular family. Only then did the Xia clan react, but during the previous talks, they've just been overbearing and treated us without any respect. Just now, my second sister called me, saying that Xia clan sent someone to make us sign a contract. They don't want to pay us even a penny. They acted recklessly and said in front of our family that they would give us 2 hours. We would need to find someone to make them leave, and if not, they would not only make us sign a contract but also hold us responsible for smearing Xuanhuan sect's reputation. How can we win them? I remember that Hongshan said Brother Han is also a martial artist and so powerful in Xiangjiang. I wonder if you have any ways because we really don't have one. After her telling, Zhang Han also knew what happened. They had completely suffered something they should not have. This kind of thing usually could not be resolved with reason. Luckily, they could find who the other party was. However, how could a high-level martial artist care about some secular business family? Jiang clan did not hold too many assets in total. The cargo's worth 300 million and the default fee would probably bankrupt the family company. However, he seemed to hear about Xuanhuan sect from someone. Zhang Han paused for a little while and said, you didn't go to the National Security Agency here? We did, and they also tried to negotiate, but the other party just seems more powerful and they failed. Actually, we just thought it would be fine even if they only paid 200 million, at least that could save our company, but they've been completely unreasonable, Jiang Tongdong said with a pair of red eyes. Brother Han, I know you're a martial artist and have thought about turning to you, but they're too powerful and I don't want to make things difficult for you. Fu Hongxian looked in a dilemma. He was typically the kind of people who did not know how powerful the person he was brown-nosing was. Chapter 830. Why is he here? However, this could not be considered real brown-nosing. Only when they entered the martial arts world could it be real brown-nosing. Zhang Han used to ask them to. Nevertheless, they did not think that much. They wanted a peaceful and quiet life. However, now, the peaceful life should be broken. It seems that I really came at the right timing. Zhang Han shook his head while smiling. Don't worry, I'll ask about the Xuanhuan sect. After saying that, Zhang Han directly took out his phone to dial Chen Qing's number. Hello, Qing, have you heard about Xuanhuan sect? Okay, I see. After hanging up, Zhang Han looked surprised. Immediately, Fu Hongxian and others got nervous. They could tell by Brother Han's look that he had already got information about Xuanhuan sect. However, if he could talk to the sect was a problem. Go to your place, I know their sect leader's daughter. Huh? Fu Hongxian and others got dumbfounded at that moment. Brother Han knew their sect leader's daughter, which was a pretty great connection. My, Brother Han was really awesome. This. Jiang Tongdong did not expect the surprise to come so soon either. This was because they did not know the martial arts world. Even if they knew only a little, they would know Zhang Han had another name, Zhang Han Yang. When they knew Zhang Han Yang, they would know soon that the recently rising Emperor King, Immortal King Chen, was his little brother. When they understood deeper, they would know Zhang Han Yang was the Crown Prince of Heavenly Knights sect. When they continued to find out, they would know that Heavenly Knights sect was a top sect in the world. The information was basically no secret in the martial arts world. However, Jiang clan was too weak with only 6 martial artists and not even one Wu Dao Grandmaster. The strongest one was an Earth Stage Master. Though he heard about Zhang Han Yang, the 6 martial artists including him never got in touch with family disciples. Not to mention an inferior son-in-law under their roof. They basically seldom met him. Even when they did, only Fu Hongxian greeted them. Jiang Tongdong's parents knew Fu Hongxian's friend was close to Gai clan. When coming to Ice City last year, the person was just impressive. That was exactly because Gai clan was too bad SS. With such a friend, Fu Hongxian advanced through ranks again and again until the two's marriage directly got fixed. Therefore, a thing like this happened today, which was Jiang Tongdong's belly was slightly bulging. Without her parents' permission, Fu Hongxian would not have this idea. Brother Han, if you're going to talk to their sect leader's daughter, will that be troublesome for you? While in surprise, Fu Hongxian asked at the same time. Nothing troublesome, that little girl is actually quite interesting. Zhang Han answered, feeling it funny. He was also a little surprised. The troublesome Xuanhuan sect Fu Hongxian talked about should be Jiang Yanlan's sect. She had a trace of Fire Phoenix class bloodline in her body, which was quite a nice quality. She truly deserved to be Captain Million Bird of the National Security Agency. Then it'll be great, thank you. Brother Han, thank you. Fu Hongxian heaved a long sigh. He knew that if Zhang Han really helped him greatly this time, then he would be the great savior of Jiang clan. He could not help feeling a little excited. He glimpsed Jiang Tongdong. The two of them were both anxious. Nevertheless, they could not say let's go down to business now. Could they? They had not even finished the meal. Thus, Fu Hongxian poured a glass of beer and was about to toast Zhang Han. Zhang Han never cared about this. Meng was still waiting for him to come back. He did not have much time for meeting them outside. He directly rose and said, let's skip the beer, we'll go to your place for business first. Now is 6 o'clock. I'll go home at about 7:30. Okay then. Fu Hongxian slightly hesitated, but still rose and said, Brother Han, I'll drink all my words down with this glass of beer. Gulp. He drank it in one gulp. Let's drink next time. This can't be a treat at all. Chen Man smiled bitterly. It's not a treat, and we also asked Brother Han to go out of his way to help us. Even I'm a little embarrassed. Elder Fu, Tong Tong, I'll tell you, you two should be smart enough when you treat Brother Han next time. Xuanhuan grinned. He meant that they would treat him to a more sumptuous and more expensive meal. No problem, no problem. Jiang Tong Tong immediately answered, this time, we really troubled you. Never mind, let's skip this and go over to have a look. Zhang Han waved his hand. If things are really like this, then I'll ask for an explanation for you. The few of them grabbed their bags and directly walked out. After Jiang Tong Tong paid, the group got into the Mercedes-Benz. This time, Zhang Han was driving, Xuanhuan rode shotgun, and Chen Man and Jiang Tong Tong were in the back passenger seats. Driving for half an hour, they came to the area of Jiang Clan. They did not have some manor. In a villa complex, they had 8 villas. In front of the door of the central villa parked 5 black Bentley with plates issued by other provinces. Clearly, they were the group of Xia Clan. When they got off the car and walked into the yard, they could see a dozen people standing along the 2 sides of the villa gate. They were all relatively young disciples in Jiang Clan. Tong Tong, you're back? A man about 27 or 28 turned around to look inside. You shouldn't go in there. Patriarch won't allow us young people in. He worries that we might lose our temper and say something I shouldn't, making big trouble. I'm here to help. Hongshan's friend has a way. Jiang Tong Tong said and take the lead to walk into the villa. It made people standing outside slightly dazed. Hongshan's friend has a way? Who's Hongshan anyway? Oh, her man is called Fu Hongshan, friend of that man. Huh? Isn't that the man who has visited last year and is pretty close to Gai Clan? Immediately, these people had some colors flowing in their eyes. If Gai Clan went to help, then Xia Clan should compromise, right? They walked into the villa. On the first floor hall, on one side was sitting 7 people with different expressions. Some looked cold, some were jeering, while some looked dismissive. On the other side, the sitting dozen people were a group of Jiang Clan seniors. When they saw Jiang Tong Tong, Patriarch Jiang slightly frowned but still said nothing, letting the few of them sit in the back. Jiang Tong Tong was generally sedate. Even if she heard something, she would not say something wrong. At that time, how could he still have the time to figure out why the Jiang Tong Tong lot came in? No one cared who Fu Hongshan had brought here to. In the face of a big crisis, they were feeling very bitter inside. Patriarch Jiang, the leading man in his 40s of the other party, sounded calm. I don't intend to waste time on you. Sign the contract and we'll give you 30 million. We'll be even then and I consider my Xia Clan responsible and nice. 30 million? Patriarch Jiang smiled bitterly. You Xia Clan people could have stopped, and then we wouldn't have suffered such a loss. But he chose to directly do it. It's not just those cargoes, the 2 vessels, there are also 23 lives. What about these? They're just ants. Why bother caring about their lives? Suddenly, the left young man who had been keeping his eyes closed to rest from the other party suddenly opened them. A trace of cold fineness flashed in his eyes, but the aura that made Patriarch Jiang's and others' hearts palpitate could not stop. He was the one who attacked. Zhang Han turned around to look at him. A martial artist at God Realm Peak stage. A God Realm martial artist should be sitting in such a small family to resolve matters? The other party was willing to finish the matter by giving 30 million, which was normal and generally respectful because this was originally a world of the law of the jungle. A God Realm Peak stage martial artist could easily crush Jiang Clan if he wanted to. However, it was a shame that he ran into Zhang Han. For these people's words, Zhang Han did not express his opinions. He did not plan to do something because he had contacted Qiang Yanlan on the way here. Coincidentally, she just went out of the worldlet and was about to come to Ice City. She planned to fly to Xiangjiang. Zhang Han did not speak, and neither did Fu Hongshan, Jiang Tong Tong, or the others. They just watched how Patriarch Jiang's words got choked and nothing came out of him. The other party said, so what if they killed them in their face, right? What could they do? Nothing. You went too far. Patriarch Jiang's face reddened from anger and he said, I've already sent for His Excellency the Director to do justice to this. Speak of the devil and he is sure to appear. Just as Patriarch Jiang finished his words, a man with grey hair on the temples quickly walked in from the door. Director he? The God Realm youth from Xia clan sneered, are you here to meddle in other people's business? He practically did not show any respect, but how dared the director at Grandmaster Peak talk back? He got a little embarrassed and managed to smile, answering, I'm here to do justice to this, to supervise and help to appease this matter. The scene slightly changed Patriarch Jiang's face. However, Patriarch Xia said smilingly, it's really an honor for me now that Director he has come here. Director, sit please. Patriarch Jiang rose up and said, Director, Xia clan went too far. Their family did such an intolerable thing, and they actually... Alright, there's no need, I know the entire thing. Director he waved his right hand and looked at Patriarch Xia. I wonder how Xia clan wants to deal with this matter? Hee hee. Patriarch Xia slightly smiled. We Xia clan won't be cruel. We take responsibility for what we did. We made them Jiang clan lose more than 20 lives. We're willing to make a compensatory payment of 30 million. As for the cargoes, none of us saw them. We even suspect that Patriarch Jiang made up the information for swindling money out of us. Such an act is just unbearable. If that's the case, then when Patriarch Xia came all the way to Ice City to compensate, it's really nice of him. So, Patriarch Jiang, I want to know your opinions. I'm busy with work and can't stay here long. Now, from the way I see it, you might as well sign the contract. Director you. Patriarch Jiang's face was full of disbelief. He stumbled and flopped onto the chair. Never did he expect that Director he would stand on Xia clan's side. Seeing that, Director he sighed inside. How can I not bow down when I'm under others' roof? I can't mess with the talent disciple from Xuanhuan sect. You can only blame that Jiang clan got unlucky. While the Xia clan people looked dismissive and Director he looked complex in the eyes, Patriarch Jiang closed his eyes and took a deep breath. I'm sorry, Director I can't sign the contract. You. Huh? Director he frowned and was about to say something. He suddenly saw a figure out of the corner of his eye. He looks a little familiar. Who's that man sitting quietly in the back? Hiss. He did not know it while he did not see the man. However, when he saw the man, he was greatly startled. Director he suddenly gasped and even his hands shook from the scare. Zhang Han. Holy crap, why is he here?